Councillor Hannafy, Councillor Haughey, Councillor Healy, Councillor Hopkins, Councillor Humphreys, Councillor Johnston, apologies, Councillor Kelly, Councillor Kitt, Councillor Leddy, Councillor Maguire, Councillor McCamley, apologies, Councillor McDonough, Councillor Mulligan, Councillor Mulville, Councillor Murphy, Councillor Newman, Councillor O'Brien, apologies, Councillor O'Leary, Councillor Onyemera, Councillor Quinlan, Councillor Quinn, apologies, Councillor Redwood, Councillor Ryan, Councillor Sheehan, Councillor Shovlin, Councillor Smith, Councillor Tormey, Councillor Troy, Councillor Walsh.
Should be on silent or switched off for the duration of the meeting. Please note that this meeting is being webcast. All members, please remember to switch off your microphone when you have finished speaking. All members are reminded that the chamber is a non-smoking vaping area. Standing orders will apply to all aspects of the meeting. Councillors are reminded of the provision of Standing Order number 92, that all members are bound to act in accordance with the ethics framework and code of conduct for local authority members, to cooperate with the orderly conduct of meeting, the direction of the Mayor, and in the manner that is respectful of colleagues. Members have been circulated with the agenda for today's meeting, and any member forming the view that they have a conflict of interest in the matters of subject of today's agenda should now disclose same. Councillors are also reminded of the provisions of Standing Order number 93, that members must bear in mind that discussions at council meetings are not privileged. No member may make false statements, impute improper motives, or use offensive or unbecoming words in reference to any member of the council, employee of the council, or any other person. Any member having made such statements or used such objectionable words and not explaining or retracting same or offering apologies for the use thereof when requested by the Mayor to do so shall be called upon by the Mayor to withdraw from the meeting. Members making any such statements or comments might find themselves personally liable for them. We have 4 apologies: Mayor Councillor O'Leary, Councillor Redwood, Councillor McDonough and Councillor Kelly. I've received 1 emergency motion has been received, and I have deemed that it is ruled out of order, and the councillor has been notified of same. We will then move on to agenda item number 1, confirmation and reaffirmation of the minutes of the variations number 1 and number 2 of the Fingal Development Plan 2023-2029, meeting held on Monday the 30th of March 2026. Seconder, thank you. 1B, confirmation and reaffirmation of the minutes of the council meeting held on Monday the 13th of April 2026. Proposer and seconder. Thank you. We will then take questions 2 to 17. Proposer. Thank you. We'll then move on to the report of the committees. Committee A, report of the Organisation, Procedures and Finance Committee meeting held on Monday the 13th of April 2026. Thank you. 18B, report of Holt Malahide Services B Area Committee meeting held on Wednesday the 6th of May 2026. Thank you. And 18C, report of Blanchardstown Mulhuddard Castleknock Ongar Services B Area meeting held Thursday the 7th of May 2026. Thank you. Item number 19, financial matters, which there is none. On to item number 20, proposed disposal of properties. 20A, notice of renewal of leases in respect of 3 sites at the following location: Meekstown, Finglas, County Dublin; Capogue, Fingal County Dublin, and The Hill, Malahide, County Dublin, to Vantage Tower Limited, Mountain View, Leopardstown, Dublin 18. We have a proposer and a seconder. A seconder. Thank you. And 20B, proposed disposal of fee simple interest of dwellings. Thank you. Item number 21, declaration of roads, which there is none. And we will move on then to item number 2, the part 8 in relation to the proposed construction of a public swimming pool building at Castle Lands, Balbriggan, County Dublin, and we have a presentation on that.
Members, we've Pat Boyle from the Architects Department who's going to lead in the presentation. We've also Adrian Turner from our Consultants Recreation, who have experience in delivering swimming pools in the UK, in Lichfield and Raynham, just to name a number. They'll give the presentation. I'm happy to take any questions after that. Thanks. Over to you, Pat.
Thanks, David. This presentation outlines the proposed development of a public swimming pool at Castle Lands, Balbriggan, and the presentation will cover the proposal, the key planning considerations, submissions received, and the Chief Executive's response and recommendation to the issues raised. The project has completed the public display and consultation period, with submissions closing on March 23rd. A briefing was given to the local area committee members last week, and we are bringing the report to Council today for consideration and decision on planning in accordance with Part 11 of the Planning and Development Act. The Chief Executive's report is structured in accordance with planning regulations and includes a description of the proposed development, the evaluation of the proposed development, the list of submissions and observations received, a summary of the issues raised and Chief Executive's responses, and finally a recommendation. This is the general content within the planning notice describing the development. Generally, the proposal is for a single-storey public building of 1,242 square metres, providing a 25-metre long 6-lane pool with a constant pool depth of 1.35 metres, including viewing gallery and all ancillary accommodation. The scheme also includes parking, cycle facilities and pedestrian links through the site. The 0.589 hectare greenfield site is located in Castle Lands, Balbriggan, within a growing residential area with over 800 new homes being delivered as part of Hampton Domain on Land Development Agency lands now under construction on site. The surrounding context is generally medium to low density developments, and the site will benefit from the new link road along its northern boundary, including a new bridge over the Dublin-Belfast railway line to connect onto the R127 Balbriggan-Skerries Road. A new park with outdoor recreation facilities is being developed immediately south of the swimming pool site, and the surrounding infrastructure is being delivered as part of housing development. Within the current development plan, the site is zoned open space to preserve and provide for open space and recreational amenities. The site identified by the red dot on the land use zoning map above, and the swimming pool is located on the 2021 master plan of the area. The proposal therefore aligns with the Fingal development plan zoning and the Castle Lands master plan from 2021. The main building block is located towards the eastern side of the site, on the right of the image, with a buffer outdoor transition space between the car park to the western side on the left of the site. The natural topography of the site shows falls to the east, allowing for a sustainable urban drainage attenuation area, supporting surface water management and biodiversity within the site. The building form and location respond to that natural topography and site constraint, minimising requirement for ground intervention and regrading. A biodiverse green roof is proposed across much of the building, with provision of PV solar panels supporting sustainability goals for the development while integrating with the landscape. The new vehicular entrance to the complex is from a quieter access road along the western boundary, set back from the main link road being constructed again to serve the housing. The parking is located to the west of the building, where there are 41 car parking spaces, 5 motorcycle spaces and 1 coach space, creating a clear arrival sequence and clear definition of the building's main entrance. Provision is made for 40 sheltered bicycle parking spaces, including secured storage for staff members. Safe access is also provided via segregated cycle and pedestrian routes, which creates strong permeability through the site, north-south there, and from the link road to the north through to the park to the south. The layout of the building itself is an efficient single-storey form, minimising areas devoted to circulation. Internally, the design, as expressed in the plan form, focuses on functionality, accessibility and ease of operation. A level access floor plan throughout, it prioritises the main pool hall and viewing gallery. Flexible changing facilities are provided to meet demand, including a changing village with private cubicles and 2-number group changing rooms. A dedicated changing places room, a highly equipped room to provide for enhanced universal access, is provided near the main entrance to the building. 6 starter blocks have been proposed on the northern side of the pool lanes to allow for competitive swimming meets, and a swim pod hoist is provided to allow universal access to the pool. As an indication of design quality, the overall design is targeting a very good BREEAM environmental assessment rating. And the building systems are proposed as fully electric with no fossil fuels used to heat the building or pool. Heat recovery and efficient control systems are proposed for lighting. The building will be visible from all sides, and elevations have been carefully considered using high quality brick materials and a simple form. The pool hall is expressed and legible within the composition, and the elevations shown of exterior of building with upper image showing the main approach to entrance from western car park side and lower image showing a view from proposed parklands to the south. Long slender windows and dark aluminium frames punctuate the elevations, giving a civic presence with larger glazed areas highlighting the main entrance. Further elevations shown here. The cross section in the centre shows the level access achieved by using the natural slope of the site. And the upper elevation shows the elevation to the new link road immediately north of the site. Some 3D CGI views of the proposal show a high quality considered design which is legible and consists from all sides. The entrance canopy clearly defines the main entrance. A sheltered southwest facing outdoor area offers outdoor seating, activating the approach to the building. Soft landscaping around the building integrates the building with surrounding area and provides a buffer to car park and boundaries. Before the public planning consultation commenced, the proposal underwent assessment by the planning department within the council with involvement of all relevant departments in assessing the proposal. The proposal has been evaluated across all key planning criteria as outlined. The council's planning and development department have reviewed the proposals and concluded that the proposed development is considered to accord with the proper planning and sustainable development of the area. Environmental impact assessment and appropriate assessment screening were carried out in advance of the public planning consultation commencing. It was determined that there was no significant environmental impact and therefore no further assessment was required. A total of 148 submissions were received, including 1 joint submission with multiple signatures. These are listed in section 3 of the Chief Executive's report, pages 11 to 13. Based on the volume of submissions and repetition of issues raised, the submissions have been categorised into themes for clarity in section 5, and responses are provided. A summary of the issues raised and the submissions can be categorised as expressions of support for the proposed development, adequacy of proposed swimming pool facility, absence of leisure and wellness facilities, concerns regarding accessibility, inclusive design, privacy and safety, deficiencies in parking provisions, site access, external layout, and general comments and observations. Responses to all issues raised and submissions have been included in Section 5 of the Chief Executive's report, pages 21 to 31. The first category was for submissions that expressed strong support for the delivery of a swimming pool, a public swimming pool, and the Chief Executive's report response acknowledges this support and the clear demand for local swimming provision. A second category dealt with the adequacy of the proposed swimming pool facility. The response provides that the proposed scale and capacity is based on a detailed feasibility study and demand analysis, and using flexible programming will be managed professionally by an operator. As explained later in the presentation, it is now, however, proposed to amend the pool depth from 1.35 metre constant depth, which was originally proposed, to include a 1.1 metre to 1.8 metre varied pool depth for greater user flexibility and to respond to issues raised in the public consultation process. Within the third category, submissions highlighted the lack of gym and wellness facilities and suggested expanding to a broader leisure centre. In response, the proposal is intentionally focused on delivering a dedicated public swimming facility where there is a gap within the county. Market analysis shows there are existing leisure facilities providing these services locally, and the intention is to complement rather than duplicate them. The proposed scale of development on the site maximises the site's potential and balances other needs such as providing appropriate landscape, parking and infrastructure. Under the fourth category of observation received, concerns regarding accessibility, inclusive design, privacy and safety were raised. The response states the proposal is designed for universal access with level access throughout, a pool pod hoist provided and a changing places facility. Safeguarding and supervision standards are embedded in the design and in line with modern best practice. The changing village provides varying private and family spaces, offering flexibility, dignity and comfort. The design also now includes a revised pool depth to further support inclusive use for all users. This will be discussed in more detail later. The next theme raised concerns over deficiencies in parking provision, site access and external layout. In response, it is noted that the scheme provides appropriate parking along with strong cycling and pedestrian infrastructure within the scheme. Coach parking and set down are provided. The parking will be actively managed by the operator, including at peak usage and for school visits. Additional external amenities will be developed at detailed design stage, while it is noted the site directly integrates with the adjoining park and pitches, which provide outdoor amenity immediately south of the pool site. Finally, there were general comments which questioned the overall design quality, scale, flexibility and long-term sustainability of the proposal. The response considers that the proposal is of high quality, appropriately scaled and a fit-for-purpose swimming facility, responding to both the site constraints and the needs of the communities of Balbriggan and North Fingal. The final part of the report makes a recommendation on proposed development. Taking on board the submissions received, the following amendment has been suggested and is outlined in the section drawn shown. The original proposal for a uniform depth of 1.35 metres aligned with FINA, the International Swimming Body Standards, and provided a balanced and efficient solution suitable for a wide range of users. Following observations, submissions received and further functional and financial reviews, It is proposed to revise the design to incorporate a 1.1 to 1.8 metre variable pool depth, offering an 8 metre long shallow section and an 8 metre long deep end. This will allow greater scope for water-based activities and sports, as well as provide user-friendly depths for learners and experienced swimmers alike. This revised depth profile maximizes flexibility and daily use with an increased extent of standing depth water, optimal for early years learners, recreational users, and those requiring additional confidence or support. A deeper section which will allow for a wider range of aquatic activities, and particularly training such as artistic swimming, water polo, life-saving and rescue. The proposed modification of the depth requires an increase of approximately 2.5% of the total development cost. Finally, it is recommended that the Council proceeds with the development as amended. Thank you. We'll take questions.
Thank you. First, we have Councillor Murphy.
Thanks very much for the presentation. This is a really good day for not just Balbriggan but for Fingal. This is the first municipal pool that Fingal County Council are delivering, and I'm sure there will be more. So I just want to congratulate you on getting to this stage. I had a previous view of the changes that were offered, and I think they're absolutely fantastic that you have taken position with regard to the changes that you have made, given the submissions that were in. I think all of the other submissions had validation, but I think that you responded to them adequately. So I'm happy with the way you have responded to the rationale for the size of the pool, given the analysis of the population that's there. So feeding into all of that, there's a need for the pool to be a particular size, and I think that you've taken into account the issue with people with mobility and for younger people and for learners learning swimming. So I think it's absolutely fantastic. So well done for all of that, and I'm looking forward to the build out. Thank you.
Councillor Quinn.
Yeah, I'd like to congratulate and thank the Council for sticking with this a very long time ago, some more than 10 years ago. Myself, Councillor Maguire and Councillor Murphy went into a room and there was talk of a swimming pool in Balbriggan, and now we're sitting here today with this being presented to the Chamber. It's very good, and I'm delighted to see that the consideration has been taken, and there has been some very valid submissions by people across the town and North Fingal in relation to the depth and the use and the concerns they'd have of whether or not it would be a commercially viable option. We can see there that by the changes of the depth, it will facilitate the many schools across North Fingal that are travelling to Swords, Drogheda and further afield to Santry to engage in swimming lessons. So we will be able to accommodate that, as well as our very active swimming groups in Balbriggan as well. Thank you.
Councillor Ryan.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Having worked with the North Fingal Pool campaign over many years, I'm happy that the pool is being delivered and being finally delivered. I see there were quite a number of submissions, 148. I think quite a number of them, and I did go through them all. Quite a number of them are kind of reflecting the lack of dry facilities, and it's a common thread coming through for quite a number. And as has been indicated, there's quite a deal of support for the proposal. Now, I'm just going to ask maybe just two questions, and it's as much to give clarity to the people who may be looking on as it is to inform myself. So, in terms of the comparison, let's say, in the comparison with a Rings End project, which is costing 43 million, which includes a gym, fitness studios, sauna and steam room, and in Balbriggan it's wet only. So to what extent was that a budget constraint or a cost constraint? was the other rationale behind that, and I appreciate your thoughts on that. Councillor Quinn just referred to it briefly as well. Some of the comments out there was along the following lines. Without dry facilities to bring in revenue, the facility will run at a massive financial loss. So what are your thoughts on that, and what assessment have you done in terms of running costs for the future viability? Thank you very much.
Councillor Hopkins.
Thanks very much. I just wanted to say congratulations to everyone involved, and it really is a very positive day for Fingal. You know, this is the first of many in the county, we hope. I just wanted to also ask about, because I know when we looked at swimming pools, they were with gyms, and there was a lot of feedback at the time from the people who were showing us the pools about how the gym was basically subsidising the pool. So again, I just want to ask the same question. How are we going to manage that? What are the costs going to be going forward in terms of maintaining the pool and making sure that we have the money in the future? Thanks.
And finally, Councillor Humphreys.
Thank you, Chair. Look, I want to start by welcoming this. I've spoken about swimming pools and dog fouling the most in this chamber that I've been here, so it is fantastic to see movements, and and it is a positive step, and it is long overdue. Like it was just recently, we've seen the Swim Ireland report that kind of very clearly kind of laid out the stark reality here in Fingal of every pool that offers swimming lessons, they all have waiting lists. So it clearly shows a demand and a need for swimming pools in the county. But while I welcome the progress, I do have concerns about the ambition of what is proposed. Public swimming pools should be thought about in the same way as we think about public libraries. A library is not only a place to borrow a book, it's a community facility. It supports children, older students, older people, families, clubs and community groups. And that's the way we should be looking at swimming facilities. Yes, they're for swimming lessons. Yes, they're for structured club activity. Yes, they teach us life skills and a very important public safety element with swimming lessons and lifeguards, etc. But this model, as presented us in this design, I fear is too narrow in focus. That we've only looked at a pool through the lens of a standalone place where someone would go to learn how to swim, or a club would go to rent out the facilities for kind of aqua aerobics or water polo, whatever it may be. But the building has to be more than that. It has to be seen as a community facility, especially when you're kind of looking at around the county where kind of teenagers and young adults are constantly crying out for a public space for them to go. And that is one of my main concerns about why there's no gym. And as has been touched on earlier, my biggest fear is that the subvention is going to be so large for this pool that it casts doubt on what we need for the rest of the county, which are swimming pools as well.
Thank you. And Councillor Butler.
Yeah, cool. Listen, apologies for being a bit late, so I missed the presentation there. And if someone else has asked the question, like I'm delighted to see this happening. It's great. I hope the next one's in Swords. But I suppose my question is, if say there's a Balbriggan swimming club set up or already exists and starts to use this pool, will they be able to hold competitive meetings with it? Whether they have a swim team from Swords competing against them or coming from anywhere within the country, I suppose, will they be able to use this pool to host events, competitive events? And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
And Councillor Newman.
Yeah, just a quick question. I did attend the meeting online and I welcomed the pool. And I did ask a question with regards to how the pool is heated. And I was informed it was all electric, so I just need confirmation on that as to what fuel is being used to heat the pool. Thanks.
Thank you. And I just want to add myself that it is a good day for Fingal and a good day for Balbriggan. And, you know, to compliment the staff on the work that they have done. And just a couple of questions in relation to a timeline and a funding model. Thank you.
I just might let Pat and Adrian come in first, and then I'll come in just to round up at the end. Thanks.
Just on the, I know the welcoming of the pool depth. In comparison, in terms of costs, in comparison with the Rings End project, our current estimate is that this project will be just below 12 million euro, so which places it significantly below the Rings End model, and is in line with the budget that we've been working to from the last 2 years. So the cost was constrained, but it's also our ambition was to deliver a swimming pool that met the needs of the community. We looked at models where there were dry facilities, but this worked out better, and I think Adrian maybe will talk more about that later. Councillor Hopkins raised issues about the running costs of the facility. We currently estimate that the operational costs will be in the order of 235,000 per annum, averaged over 5 years, with a sinking fund, bringing the total annual estimated cost of running the pool at around 300,000 euro per annum. The operational models are still under consideration, but Councillor Butler raised a query on would clubs be able to use this for competitive events? I think the answer is yeah.
Low-level competitions.
Low-level competitions, local competitions, county competitions. It has been provided with starter blocks, which will be very useful for training purposes for events. Councillor Newman raised a query on how the pool is heated. It is all electric. There's no gas to the facility, or no fossil fuels used.
I might just come in. We started this journey about 2 years ago in relation to a pool. Obviously, a lot of the members have been looking for a pool. And together with the sports audit, we've identified that Balbriggan was a primary location for the provision of a pool. We then engaged consultants to look at the different operating models and the different costs associated with the overall provision of a pool. And taking into account what was already in Balbriggan. You have a Castlelands Community Centre that's within 10 minutes of where the pool is going to be provided, and there's a number of gym facilities already in the town. When the analysis was done, for us to provide a gym facility is an extra 4 million. So then there's an extra cost associated with the council, and then there's a longer time to pay back the gym. While it does generate extra income, it's also a provision of 3.5 to 4 million extra costs that has to be provided for. So taking everything into account, what was already in Balbriggan with the gym and what was in the community centre, it was decided that we would go for the pool only. And the subvention, as Pat has outlined, is the 235 per year, and that's subject to obviously us going to tender and looking at operating models. We looked at the operating model where we completely outsource it. Or there is another option where you provide a company limited by guarantee and you make a financial contribution to that. Those models are in operation in Dublin City or in Kildare or Dundee. So as part of the tender process, we'll be looking at those. When we go to construction for tender, we'll be looking at a tender process for an operator as well. Just in relation to the timeline and the funding, So obviously, subject to the approval of the members tonight, Oliver Hunt, the Head of Finance, will be bringing back a proposal for loan approval for the funding for the pool next month. And that was agreed as part of the annual budget last year when we provided the capital plan and the revenue budget. So they were brought to the members as part of that. So that's what we'll be doing next month. So then we obviously get the loan approval from the members, we go to tender and we go to construction. So all things being equal, we hope to be on site early 2027 with about a 15-month delivery time. But that is subject to tender, subject to costs. And obviously the pool has been provided alongside the road where the LDA are in provision or providing infrastructure for a new road. So we have to obviously be in accordance, or we have to link in with their timelines as well. So all things being equal, we'll be on site next first quarter in 2027 and delivery in 2028. I think that's it.
Okay. In relation, oh sorry, Councillor Humphreys, did you want to come back in?
I'll be extremely brief because you're letting us back in. Is this vote today setting in stone what the operating model is going to be, or will that be coming back to the members as well?
The operating model is a matter for, obviously, the executive go out to tender and we decide the appropriate operating model. It'll come back to you as part of the budget process, but it won't be a separate decision.
Okay, can we have a proposer and a seconder, please? Second. Thank you. We'll move on then to the next item. Oh, is it agreed? Sorry. Agreed. Item number 23, Part 8, in relation to the proposed public play trial development at Longstone Park, Portrane, County Dublin. And again, we have a presentation on this, I think, as well.
So hello members. So today I am presenting the Chief Executive's report on the proposed play trails for Portrane, which are located within Longstone Park. So the following will be discussed. Findings of the planner's report, which you should have in your meetings in your meeting packs. That forms part of the Chief Executive's report. An overview of the submissions which we received following the public consultation, and finally we'll be recommending to the members to hopefully approve the scheme as proposed. In terms of site selection, there is a clear appetite and at the same time a deficiency of public play provision in Portrane, and this was identified in a county-wide play audit. So the sites selected, which I'll get into in a few minutes, are sufficient to fill the gap of local access to play within the area. So with regards to the Council's adopted play policy, the selected sites comply with the size of the open space, the location relative to people's homes and pathways, as well as suitable site conditions. And this is just an overview of some CGIs created. I'll go on a bit further. So this drawing depicts the two play trails within two open spaces in the northern and the southern open space of Longstone Park, and it just depicts the spaces relative to the homes in Longstone Park and how they are linked together safely via pedestrian crossings. And that's possibly represented a little bit clearer in the CGI form. So this is a closer look on the northern space, main axis off the Borough Road. Here it very much depicts a play trail layout to the periphery of the space. The majority of the space remaining to allow for multifunctional use, such as informal kickabout area. This is the view across the open space from the cul-de-sac, looking towards the play trail where Stella's Castle forms a strong focal point as part of the backdrop. This is just a different vantage point off the footpath along the Borough Road with improved access and bicycle parking to the foreground. So the southernmost space, just off the R126, consisting of a linked serpentine pathway with incidental play items along the way, which are incorporated. So this is the CGI view from the cul-de-sac across this particular space looking towards the R126. And this is a view from the other end. So here mounding can be seen to further visually screen the play items. So to summarize the proposals, there's overall 17 pieces of play equipment proposed between the two locations, along with water permeable pathways, safety surfacing, as well as natural play opportunities, including logs, mounding and boulders, and ancillary furniture and landscaping will also improve the quality of the open space. So the planning report considers the proposals are in accordance with the relevant zoning objectives contained in the county development plan and the policies relating to the open space, green infrastructure and play provision, while also enhancing the amenity value of the area. This is in accordance with the proper planning and sustainable development of the area. Consultation began back in October 2025 with an informal meeting targeted at the local residents of Longstone Park. And earlier on this year, the proposals were placed on display with the required six-week submissions period. This was over February and March. 25 submissions were received. The submissions were allocated into 8 categories or themes, which I'll go on to. I'll go on to that now. So theme 1, so 19 submissions were in strong support of the proposals. The comments read along the lines of, this is badly needed, long overdue, the plans will serve the area well, they look great, fantastic amenity, and so on. And then 2 submissions queried around the provision for teenagers. However, the scale of the open space does not allow accommodation of something for teenagers in this instance. But looking forward, perhaps they can be facilitated elsewhere in the village outside of this Part 8. So this is something the council can look into further, such as providing the likes of a basketball hoop, which proves very popular in other parts of the county. So in the meantime, nearby Ballymastone Recreational Hub is under construction, and this includes parkour, a skate park, and calisthenics. All of these are suitable for the teenage cohort. There were assertions that the proposals are not needed due to there's not enough young children in Longstone Park or in Portrane. But the fact is, Portrane, albeit has a relatively low population, they still have children that live there that need to be accommodated. So and the location proposed was selected to serve all of Portrane, not just within Longstone Park. 4 submissions voice concerns that the proposals will bring additional cars and traffic into the area. Again, these proposals are intended for local access to play, so very much within walking distance for the residents of Portrane. It is not intended to serve as a destination playground such as Newbridge Domain. And as well as this, we're rolling out play provision county-wide to further negate the need to travel for access to play. On the environment, there were concerns of environmental issues such as noise, pollution, rubbish, footfall and disturbance to wildlife. The proposals are located, so in response, the proposals are located at least 25 metres from the nearest homes in keeping with our play policy. This will minimise the disruption due to foot traffic, and additional resources will be allocated to deal with waste management, and as part of the process, environmental screening determined that the impacts to habitats and wildlife would be insignificant. A common theme of concern for any play space, any new play space, is antisocial behavioural issues. However, there's a significant passive surveillance opportunities in the area to deter such behaviours. The Council will also work proactively with other departments and organisations in the interest of preventing the potential for antisocial behaviour, and perhaps also with the members of the local electoral area as well. Privacy and security. So there were some concerns around this. Again, the required setback from the homes which we are complying is in part cognizant of privacy, and other interventions such as mounding and planting will further alleviate these concerns. So out of the 25 submissions, there was 5 objections. This is for the reasons previously outlined, the concerns such as traffic, antisocial behaviour and privacy and so forth. This is largely from the residents, and as committed previously, we will liaise with these residents at local level to further relay any concerns. And this will be at various stages as the project moves forward, including an annual review after the project is delivered and completed. So it's considered that the proposed play trails are in accordance with the county development policies and objectives. So therefore, we are recommending the council approve the proposed play trails as proposed. And that's the conclusion of the presentation. So thank you. We'll take any questions.
Councillor Johnston.
Thanks, Michael, for the presentation, and thanks to yourself and Kevin and Oliver for all the work that you've put into this over the last couple of years. Look, obviously, I think it's a great proposal, fantastic for the Portrane area, but I suppose I said the area committee, my concern is that I suppose a number of the older people living in the estate are quite concerned about the proximity of the playground to their homes. I suppose, look, Donabate area, we've seen a huge increase in antisocial behaviour the last couple of months. I'm sure many people are aware the pagoda in the community centre was burnt down recently. We've had other arson attacks in the area, so there are genuine concerns by some of the residents. Look, I think this is a fantastic facility. It'll be a great amenity for the area, but just to, I suppose, confirm that, you know, I think what I requested, and I think Michael may have said it there, is that, you know, you will meet with the residents in advance of the playground construction commencing, maybe walk through of the proposals, the equipment that you're going to be installing in the area, and then obviously the yearly review I think will be very important for the people of Portrane. But just again say thanks very much. I mean, look, I fully support this, but again, just I have to put in the record there are genuine concerns, and it's probably fueled by the fact that there has been a massive increase in antisocial behaviour in the area, which has really obviously increased the fears and the concerns of the local residents there. Thank you.
Councillor Quinn.
Yeah, from the local area presentation, I was very impressed with the plans. As Councillor Johnson has said, it was very important, and the council did undertake that to engage with the local community. It is an established older estate. They would have and do have genuine concerns. I think one of the biggest fears is that when we invest in areas such as this, there is a fear around antisocial behaviour. But we also have to be confident in ourselves to be able to put that in place. We have had situations where we've had to go back and relook at it and redesign it and so forth. And the council has said that they will engage in a yearly review, which is very welcome. So very much welcome this, and with the enormous development that's taken place in Portrane, I really think that this is very vital to all of the younger families and younger members of the community that are moving in currently. Thank you.
Councillor Donnelly.
Thanks a lot. It looks fantastic, and I really do like that design. Just a question, is the play trail design one that's going to be replicated in other areas? Because as a parent, I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, if you have 2 or 3 children there, how could you possibly keep your eye on them all? I would be really concerned. I'm surprised that there weren't any submissions highlighting that. Thanks.
Councillor Mulville.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks to Michael for the presentation, and thanks to the team for all the work they've put into this over the years. Just as others said, really want to welcome this. I think it'll be a great day for the children of Portrane when this is started and completed, and I hope that work can commence as soon as possible. And it's great to hear about the plans to engage with the residents. That's important too, and make sure it can be designed and built, and that we can try and address all the various concerns along the way. But mainly to say, look, I think it's fantastic. I guess the survey showed that there's a lack of a play space in Portrane, and it's great now that that's moved to actual development on the ground and a new play space that will hopefully happen as soon as possible. Thanks very much.
Councillor Hopkins.
Yeah, thanks. I think it's a gorgeous design, and I just want to welcome it. Just in relation to the space for teens, I do think, obviously this is a new playground going into an older area, and Fingal have gotten very good at, as part of our planning conditions, we have playgrounds in all new estates now, so we won't have this issue going forward. But I think we really need to think about our play spaces growing with the population, and to make spaces, to make sure that we have some interchangeable spaces and some spaces for teens. I know you said there was no space for a basketball hoop, but I think small things like that make a big difference, and just other pieces of play equipment that are good for teenagers, so that teenagers feel welcome. I'm not saying that's going to get rid of antisocial behaviour as described by others, but it would certainly help, I think, if teenagers felt welcome and had a place to hang out that was their own. I know you mentioned Ballinastone, but I think that's about half an hour walk away. So I just think it's important that we make sure that teenagers feel welcome and that there's a place for them in our playgrounds. Thanks.
Councillor Ryan.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Looking at the visual up there, I mentioned this at the ACM, what's currently referred to as Stella's Castle, but when I grew up and played around there, it was known as Bob's Castle to us. And at the ACM, I suggested we should really look at the opportunity that might present itself in the future in terms of developing that area, and to some degree incorporating it into that plan for that area. So hopefully something will come of that. In terms of the theme that my colleague referred to in terms of the antisocial behaviour, the response, one of the responses up there was the council will work proactively with other organisations, etc., to address that if and when it arises. Can you just clarify which department of the council will take ownership of that process? Thank you.
And Councillor Gearan.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation, and I think it's fantastic. It's fantastic to see this being rolled out. We had a similar development, the addition of a playground in Holt a number of years back, and there were similar observations and concerns in relation to antisocial behaviour and so forth. And we have seen that that has not materialised and that has not been the case. I think where you would run a risk is where you provide facilities alongside that or as part of that for teenagers. And that's not a slight on teenagers, but they're different activities that people get involved in. I know in our own area, Councillor Tormey has been very active in the fore with play areas around Bayside and so forth. So we know a bit of this from our contributions. But all I can say is that the job that was done in Howth, there were similar concerns, and I think we have, you know, if it comes anywhere near what you delivered in Howth, I think the people of Portrane have an awful lot to be looking forward to, and well done.
Thank you. That's all the questions and observations.
Yeah, thank you, members, for your input. Just to go through the questions and comments. Councillor Johnson, yes, and a number of other members expressed the issue that there are concerns among the local community. We know that, we accept that. You know, we're very used to looking at plans and details like this. It can be difficult to convey the scale and the nature of a project like this to the community. We're going to spend a good bit of time on that with the local community, just allaying their fears, which we believe are unfounded in relation to this, and we will put resources into that in the context of the detailed design and delivery on the ground, which will be through the Infrastructure and Transport Department. In relation to Councillor Donnelly's question about play trails, this isn't our first play trail. We have implemented a play trail in Lusk, in Rathmore, and that was a very successful project there. And it hasn't generated issues around children wandering off or anything like that. Actually, it's very popular with parents who get a walk along the way with the children going to play on different items as they go. So it's actually quite a successful model, and it suits the profile of the site. There's not a very large site, so to allow for the setbacks that are necessary as part of our policy. This is the best configuration for the sites involved. As regards teenagers, the playground as provided will be in compliance with the policy. We've no problem looking at additionality down the line to address the needs of teenagers. We want, but definitely the need as regards the policy and accessibility is around the up to 12-year-olds. But we've no difficulty. We work with operations all the time in terms of backfilling additional facilities for teenagers, and we can look at that. But as far as delivering on the policy, the playground that we're presenting here today, it does that in terms of the accessibility for play across the county. And just, you know, in terms of Councillor Ryan's comments around Stella's Castle, we've no difficulty looking at that into the future, the possibility of incorporating the site there. The playground is designed sensitively so that it complements the setting of the castle. So there may be options around that which we'd be happy to investigate going forward.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Halpenny. Have we a proposer and a seconder? Is that agreed? Thank you. Then move on to item number 24, financial assistance, and 24A, approved housing bodies under the capital assistance scheme call for CAS 2017 to provide units of living accommodation in the Fingal area.
Members, these are just before, they have been before the area committees, you understand, so this is just under the legislation they're required to be agreed by the full council.
Are they agreed? Councillor Burchell?
Yeah, I mean, obviously good to see these schemes going ahead. There's no differentiation though between acquisitions and construction in the table, I mean, I know, for example, Tua Housing, Kilmartin Grove, that's quite recently built in the last number of years, and it's good to see accommodation for older people being provided there. But Scariff House in Waterville, that's quite an old development, so that will be an acquisition as far as I'd be aware. So I just have a question about, you know, differentiating between acquisitions and construction. Are any of them kind of construction? Thanks.
Councillor Hopkins.
Yeah, thanks. I might have missed this, Paul, at Area Committee. Just wanted to check. So there is quite a concentration of approved housing body units in Myrtle House, in Longfield and Baldoyle. And I'm just wondering about, so the category of need here is mental health, which obviously I would fully support, but this funding is just for the acquisition of the building itself. My concern is the wraparound supports that are being given to people in the area, because you've probably known from dealings with me that there has been a number of issues, particularly in this area, with people who have severe mental health issues who don't seem to be getting wraparound supports, and that's obviously having an impact on the community there. So I'm just wondering, is this purely for the acquisition of a house, or are we funding the actual wraparound supports that people who move in need? Thanks.
And Councillor Quinlan.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just in relation to the Paul Housing, and just to make the members aware that in the Dáil on Wednesday, the 6th of May, Minister for Justice Jim O'Callaghan, when he was asked the average length of a stay in an OIPAS accommodation for persons whose international protection application was finalised in each year for 2019-2025, he responded that it was 1.5 years in 2024, and then further stated when a person completes their international protection application and receives a positive decision, they have a legal status that allows them to remain in Ireland, and people who are granted status to remain also gain access to the full range of housing supports available to all Irish residents. You might be wondering, what does this have to do with the Paul Housing? But essentially, early this year, in January 2026, we found out, or discovered rather should I say, that 70% of the allocations that the Paul Housing Association made were to people who were formerly in the OIPAS system. For the year 2024, it was found that it was on average 18 months stay in OIPAS to get accommodated. I'd just like to, register my objection to Fingal County Council allocating €270,000 to this housing body, and I'd ask other councillors to object to it too, because how can we seriously look our constituents in the face who contact us every single day saying they're on the social housing list 10, 15, 20 years. Meanwhile, there's quite literally an accelerated path to housing for people who've been in the OIPAS system. And I'd also query then to the housing department within Fingal that when the Minister responded to the question as well, he said that the Department of Housing, Local Government and Heritage and local authorities tend to provide support. What role does Fingal play as a local authority in lending support to people exiting the OIPAS system? And I'd also query if this can be put to a vote to approve or not. Thanks, Chair.
That's all the questions.
Okay, thank you. All of these units are acquisitions, so they're not CAS construction, they're CAS acquisitions. In relation to the wraparound services, that does not fall under this this item. That would be generally funded by the HSE and organised and put in place by the organisations that are listed there. In relation to allocations for former IPAS residents, we allocate via our allocation scheme, which is published and is available there. So that's the criteria. So if people are eligible and are on the social housing list, well then that's they're allocated. They're eligible to be allocated a place under our social housing allocations scheme. And if this is not approved, well then none of the acquisitions then will go ahead under this item.
Okay, item number 24A, is it approved? Is it agreed? We go for a roll call vote. Councillor Mulville.
Chair, is this for noting or approval? It's normally just for noting, I thought, no? Sorry, I could be wrong.
So we'll take a roll call vote.
The results of the vote are green, yes 31, yellow, abstain 0, red, no 1.
Thank you. So item number 24A has been agreed. Move on then to item number 24B, Portmarnock Sports and Leisure Club.
Members, this item is seeking the approval of the members for a grant of €500,000 to Portmarnock Sports and Leisure Centre to support them in structural repairs for the roof. An engineering report was carried out on behalf of PSLC, has identified extensive structural deficiencies in the roof, concluding that it requires major refurbishment and is unsafe. On foot of these findings, in the interest of public safety, the pool and sauna have been closed since March 2026. The closure of the pool is having serious and ongoing impact on the community, particularly through the loss of swimming pool provision and associated services. PSLC, it's in the report, are proposing to undertake a programme of works comprising of structural repairs to the roof, priority remedial works to the pool tank, implementation of health and safety upgrades, and necessary enabling preparatory works to facilitate timely delivery. We've met Portmarnock Pool on 2 occasions in relation to this, and obviously there's a large financial commitment and they have to get some financial funding themselves. But in light of the cost involved and in light of the contribution that Portmarnock Sports and Leisure makes to the community, we're looking for the support of the members for a grant of 500,000. And it's in the resolution there, it's in recognition of the unique circumstances in which PSLC, a community organisation, has funded, provided and operated a major piece of recreational infrastructure on council lands and has considered it necessary and desirable to promote the interests of the local community, that we grant 500,000 as awarded as a financial contribution. And the funding will be sourced from the non-council owned community facilities.
Thank you, Mr. Story. Councillor O'Brien.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor. Yeah, just firstly to say to the Chief Executive and to Mr. Story and all the officials involved, to thank you for the work that has been done. This is kind of an emergency situation that came about, and I'm absolutely delighted to see the proposal here this evening so quickly to help what is an absolutely essential local amenity, and indeed from the same fund that we set up a number of years ago when there were calls to assist with privately owned community facilities out in Dublin 15, and it's absolutely really important that we as members approve this here, so that we can bring this or help to bring this really important amenity in Portmarnock that serves the entire South Fingal area, that we can bring that back into use as soon as possible. So I know this funding is both crucial and will be very well received. And again, just to say thanks to the officials involved, and indeed all of the councillors and the TDs involved in assisting us get to this point. So I would commend this proposal to the rest of the members. Thanks, Deputy Mayor.
Councillor Healy.
I'd also like to support this proposal, and like Councillor O'Brien, strongly welcome the work that's been put in by our own executive in order to achieve this proposal here before us today. I do have one additional suggestion, which is that we would look at supporting photovoltaic panels, or encouraging them to find some way of bringing the pool up to the standard which we know all pools will need. We've just approved the pool in Balbriggan with photovoltaic panels on the roof, and if we're going to support the work here to fix the roof on the PSLC, I think it is the right time to try to include the solar energy generation as part of that project. Thank you.
Councillor Haughey.
Thanks very much. And yeah, just to echo what the other councillors have said, I want to thank the Chief Executive and Mr. Story for engaging with the PSLC as soon as this happened. And it's correct to call it an emergency, because this pool, when it was opened up until March, had thousands of weekly swimmers. It caters for all the local schools providing swimming lessons and many of the local sports clubs. And we've talked tonight about the importance of providing the new pool in Balbriggan and for North Fingal. But if this pool didn't reopen in South Fingal, it would be devastating for the community. So I just want to thank the executive. I think this should be supported by all the councillors, and with help from central government and the PSLC's own funds, I'm confident we can see the PSLC back up and running, and get the pool back up and running as soon as possible. So thanks.
Councillor Murphy.
Thanks very much, and don't want to pour cold water on this, given the fact that Balbriggan has just received the good news of a pool coming. However, I just have two questions. First one is that the facility at Portmarnock is a sports and leisure club. It's members only, but maybe open to the public. And I just want to know what community gain are the people in the area getting, the likes of the schools, etc., as a consequence of $500,000 investment. And the other question I have is more concerning the setting up this precedent that we don't fall foul of other private entities looking to come into Fingal County Council looking for financial support. So just to have a look at the precedent and also to look at the community gain element. Thank you.
Councillor Quinn.
Just the one question. We're agreeing here, or we're proposing that we would bring $500,000 to remediate the issues here and the problems that Portmarnock Sports and Leisure are having. How much is outstanding? How much is PSLC and central government bringing to the table? Is this match funding, or is it a percentage of what is needed? Thank you.
Councillor Donnelly.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I was going to ask for more background information on the company, but Councillor Haughey has given some there. I'm just a little bit concerned. Has any financial guidance been given to PSLC going forward so that we're not in the same position in 10 years' time? Like all organisations need a sinking fund for this sort of work. I don't know anything about what this, what the makeup of the PSLC is, but I totally accept if it's open to the community and the schools use it. Well then, absolutely worth saving. The other thing I'm just struggling with, I suppose, is the conversations we had at our last meeting about increasing rents, and there's all hand-wringing and where you're going to find the money from and what you're going to take it out of. And then today we see on the agenda $500,000, you know, grant, not a loan, a grant. But anyway.
Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. In Councillor McDonagh's absence today, he can't be with us. Apologies sent. Just say a few words on his behalf and my own behalf. My information is that costs are going to be in the region of 1.2 million. The grant we're considering today is 500,000, which is to be welcomed. The department apparently are footing just 100,000. Now my colleague, Councillor Duncan Smith, has raised this in the Dáil with Minister Calleary and Minister O'Brien. Brian McDonough has kind of a motion at ACM which was unanimously passed. But disappointed that the government are only contributing so little. So far, 80% of users are not members, and although living in Skerries myself, my children learn to swim there, so the facility is referred to in the sports audit, so it's effectively a public facility, and certainly we will be supporting this. But I'm seriously asking colleagues here who are members of government parties to seriously put pressure on ministers to do more.
Councillor Hopkins.
Yeah, I just want to thank the executive for acting so fast. I don't think I've ever seen anything move so fast. It's absolutely brilliant. As it says in the report, this swimming pool is critical infrastructure for Fingal, for Portmarnock and the wider area. 2,000 people use it every week, including a load of clubs, older people, school children. It's absolutely essential. So I think people are asking reasonable questions about, you know, when we had the presentation about the new pool in Balbriggan, 75,000 annually is going to go into a sinking fund. So obviously we're having conversations with the leisure centre about how they plan to continue with the maintenance going forward. That's obviously crucial for them and crucial for us, but you know, we haven't really had, we've spoken here before about how expensive it is to run pools, and that's why we don't really have public pools, because they are expensive. But this is in effect a public swimming pool. It's they're a not-for-profit organisation, so they absolutely needed to be supported. There is going to be a gap in the funding that we're giving versus what they need, and so, as others have said, we need central government to step up. The Sports and Leisure Centre will only have so much, and so we need to continue to ask ministers and TDs to continue to support the club to make sure that it opens again, hopefully by September. Thank you.
Councillor Tormey.
Yeah, just to echo what's been said, and just to thank the executive, Mr. Story and Anne-Marie as well. You guys just immediately recognised how important this facility is and just stepped up to the plate, and it's just but for generations to come, this will have such a positive impact on them. That's how important this swimming pool is, and it is, you know, run by like a community organisation, and they do have such a spread in terms of like where kids are coming from to use that pool. So it's so important, and thank you again for stepping up. And you know, absolutely the other members can raise their concerns, but I can't reiterate just how important this is to approve this evening. Like we've done it for, you know, Dublin 15 community centres where there is that significant community need. We really need to come together and just support the existing community facilities, you know, that come into disrepair. So please to everyone, please support this. Thank you.
Councillor Walsh.
Yeah, thanks to the executive for bringing forward the proposal. I fully support it. I think this is giving you know, essential financial support to a genuine community organisation, and you know, I have looked for that as a Dublin 15 councillor, Councillor Tormey alluded to community centres in Dublin 15. And with this, I think the fund here was originally set up at the request of councillors in Dublin 15 a few years ago. My understanding is, and Mr. Story, I think, might comment on this. I think just based on Mr. Story's contribution, it is the Community Facilities Fund for non-Fingal-owned centres. So this is in line with the policy that was approved by the Community SPC. I don't see any new precedent here. It might be a slightly larger amount than would normally be given, but I think the precedent of supporting non-Fingal-owned community facilities that perform an important community function is already established. It's a positive precedent, and some of us worked hard to get it established. So I fully support it, and I think we should approve it. My only question is if I have the fund right, I suppose where does that leave the Community Facilities Fund? Is there still capacity in that fund to support other organisations, or will we need to replenish that fund later this year? Because I think actually it shows the importance of that fund and the work that was done by councillors and by staff and by the Community SPC to get that fund up and running. Thanks.
Councillor Gearan.
Yeah, I'd like to thank the executive. I'm very disappointed by colleague Councillor Murphy questioning, how worthwhile it is. But let me assure you, for my 30th birthday, my wife gave me swimming lessons in PSLC, which didn't work. And for my 40th birthday, I was elected chair of the PSLC swimming club, still not being able to swim. And what I can assure everybody in this room, because I was very involved, it is really and truly open to the community. The centre provides amazing facilities to everybody. And they have, whilst it's not owned by Fingal, they have stood in and filled a vacuum for the last 40 plus years. And this is really and truly a most welcome contribution. And I'd like to thank the directors and the chief executive for bringing this. And I look forward to support from most of my colleagues in this comes for approval. Thank you.
And Councillor Smith.
Thank you. Councillor Guerin, you're meant to be selling this to people, not saying that you went swimming and they didn't teach you how to swim. Look, I am happy to see this come forward. The facility is well known that it does a huge amount for the community. I would share Councillor Ryan's annoyance that the department hasn't stepped up here more and that we are footing a significant part of this bill. But just in general, in the interest of transparency for others who are interested in it and for the public, what is the criteria within this fund that we set against, like how we audit whether a facility warrants the investment and drawn down from the fund or doesn't? Because I'm sure there are other facilities in and around the county that are also facing such issues, maybe not as pressing as PSLC, but definitely know of a couple of community centres where there is in need of structural repairs, and they would be querying whether or not they can apply to the fund as well. But happy to support this, and would just like the answer to those queries. Thanks.
Thank you, and go back to Mr. Story.
Thanks. A couple of questions, I'll go through them, and then I'll hand over to John Quillan because it's coming out of his budget, it's not coming out of my budget. Solar, that is part of the proposal, Councillor Healy. It's just not obviously gone into every detail in the report, but it is part of the proposal. Members, there is membership in Portmarnock, but it is also a public swimming pool. There's 2,500 people using it. I think there's 10 or 12 different clubs that you don't have to be members, so they're all using the pool as well. Just on the community gain as well, like we will be talking to the leisure centre about this school swimming programme that we have in place, and we'll be looking for some additional hours there that we can make use of. I think the funding piece then, most of the other questions are about the funding, so I'll just hand over to John.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Mayor. Members, so just a little bit of the history of the fund. It was introduced by yourselves in 2020, and over the course of the years in between, 1.4 million has been transferred into it. 24 grants have been paid out between 21 and 25, and those grants in total have valued 506,000. 500,000 on this grant is a significant amount, but it will leave about 417,000 in the fund that's available for us to continue with the normal scheme. Councillor Smith, the criteria, there's a detailed criteria. I'll circulate a link to members just for your information. You can go through it, but you can rest assured there's ample funds available. I suppose in terms of the precedent under this fund, it's the significance of the scale of the amount of this. None of the previous applicants would have been looking in this region, but there is a particularly unique set of circumstances here. There is no other community organisation has achieved something like this. This is a major piece of recreational infrastructure, and for a community organisation to have had the wherewithal to enter into an agreement with us for land and then to have raised funding and to develop this infrastructure and to operate it for so many years is a very significant thing and is very unique in Fingal. So I don't think there's any danger of seeing anybody else in this space.
Okay, thank you, members, for all the contributions. I need to read out the resolution for it to be agreed. So, is it agreed? So I'll just read the resolution. In recognition of the unique circumstances in which the PSLC, a community organisation, has funded, provided and operated a major piece of recreational infrastructure on council lands, and considering it necessary and desirable to promote the interests of the local community and the recreational and community development of the area, Fingal County Council, in accordance with Section 66 of the Local Government Act 2001, as amended, hereby resolves that a grant of $500,000 be awarded as a financial contribution towards the cost of essential upgrade works at Portmarnock Sports and Leisure Club in order to support the expedient delivery and early completion of the urgent and necessary works and to facilitate the reopening of the swimming pool for public use. That the provision of the grant is subject to satisfactory financial, technical and governance review, including appropriate scrutiny and verification of costs, funding arrangements and delivery proposals, and that the financial contribution shall be funded from funds provided from within the community fund available to non-council owned community facilities. Thank you. And we just need a proposer and a seconder. Councillor O'Brien was forced to propose and everyone seconded. Thank you. We will then move on to item number 25, the Dunsink Urban Area Plan. And again, we have a presentation.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you, members, for the opportunity today to give an overview of the Urban Area Plan for Dunsink and the process behind it. During the variation process, we committed to publishing this plan. So Ms Fallon will bring you through that process and what that plan is. And it really represents a real opportunity for us to provide much needed housing, both in the shorter term and over a longer period, and an opportunity to create a new community at these lands, which are very well located within the M50, adjacent to the railway lines. And Deirdre will take you through the presentation now.
Thank you. So, as Roisin had mentioned, the impetus for preparing the plan arises out of Variation 1 to the County Development Plan, which was adopted just at the end of March. And the lands at Dunsink were a key part of that and a key element in the Council's strategy to activate residential zone land and to deliver on the housing targets for Fingal that are set out in the development plan. So the variation included removing the long-term strategic reserve designation from the lands, included the objective to prepare an urban area plan, and then included the allocation of 2,500 units to the Dunsink lands just for the remainder of the lifetime of the development plan up to 2029. And that is coming from that strategic location of the Dunsink lands, so close inside the M50 corridor, close to public transport, close to green spaces. All of the policy at national and regional level supports the consolidation of urban centres and Dublin and infilling development within these key sites, particularly where they are close to public transport services.
So these lands at Dunsink of over 400 hectares, of which 160 are zoned for residential purposes, are a strategic undeveloped land bank and represent that unique opportunity to deliver a new urban quarter for Dublin. As I mentioned, they're in close proximity to the Dart West Heavy Rail Corridor, which has received permission, the bus network, and with potential for the Lewis Green Line to be extended to the lands in the long term, which all provide excellent connectivity with the surrounding area and the city. Also, the lands are controlled largely by Fingal County Council, which is a huge opportunity for the council to plan and deliver residentially led development supported by public transport and this network of public green spaces and active travel corridors. And so, as I said, the basis for urban area plans is in the new 2024 Planning and Development Act. So it sets out the broad content of these plans and the statutory process that the plan preparation and adoption has to follow. So in the main, urban area plans have to set out how the development plan strategy, including settlement-specific objectives, will be implemented. They can include such other objectives as may be determined by the planning authority, including relating to community facilities and amenities, and standards for the design and architecture of structures and public spaces. Importantly, it has to be materially consistent with the development plan in terms of the zoning objectives, the settlement-specific objectives, and the overall strategy of the development plan. And if there is any conflict between the two documents, then the development plan takes precedence. For Dunsink, this plan also has to take account of the National Transport Authority's transport strategy for the Greater Dublin area. And the plan, when made, will have a duration of 10 years or until the next development plan is made, although there is provision in the legislation to include the option to extend the urban area plan on adoption of the new development plan. Again, that's kind of a process in itself. So one new feature in the 2024 Act compared to the 2000 Act in terms of local area plans was a provision to consult with the members of the Planning Authority prior to the publication of the draft plan. So hence our kind of briefing at today's meeting, and I should say there will be a further kind of detailed briefing to members in the coming weeks as well prior to the plan going on draft display. The black line here just illustrates the outline of the plan lands itself, with the, say, residential area in the centre of the lands, surrounded by the Talca Valley to the south, and the lands at the former landfill site at Dunsink to the north. Really, the division for the urban area plan will be to deliver development that respects the environment, the cultural heritage, the historic landscape of this area, that will set this new benchmark for sustainable and inclusive urban expansion in Ireland. That will include the sensitive integration of the surrounding natural and built heritage, including the observatory, the Royal Canal, the Talca River, and that would also restore and reimagine the former landfill site as a long-term regeneration area, delivering on the county plan objective to provide a regional park here, and the area combining energy, biodiversity, and public amenity uses. The overall strategy is to accommodate potentially 15 to 20,000 residential units and the supporting development, social, economic, recreational, educational, that can serve the new residents of this area, based on the strategic objectives of livability, sustainability, and placemaking. And importantly, that will be public transport oriented development to capitalise on the location of the land so close to existing and planned public transport corridors. So some of the key issues that are arising in terms of preparing the draft plan is how to prepare a development strategy that will support this transit-oriented development, that will be based on active travel and public transport, that will achieve the density that's required to support public transport now and in the future, an appropriate land use mix that will serve all of the needs of the new community in this area, and importantly, how to phase development so that supporting facilities happen in tandem kind of with new housing. And also how to provide an urban design strategy that will be inclusive, that will be accessible to all, that will be of a really high standard, and that will integrate this natural and built heritage that is so varied and rich in this area. As I mentioned, the delivery of the regional park objective of the development plan will be key to the future developments of these lands, and also the protection of the continued operation and setting of Dunsink Observatory, which is on the tentative World Heritage list of sites. So look, in terms of the next steps then, it'll be to continue preparing and then finalising the draft plan. As I mentioned, there'll be a further briefing to the members prior to public display commencing. And as that's been done, there's also strategic environmental assessment, appropriate assessment, flood risk assessment and strategic water management studies all being progressed in the background that will feed into the draft plan. There is, once the draft plan goes in display, the statutory process kicks in. So there's a 6-week minimum public consultation stage during which submissions can be made by all interested parties, including children. Following that, there's the Chief Executive's report prepared, which is then submitted to the elected members for consideration. And following that consideration, the members can adopt the plan as is, or if material amendments are prepared, it goes through a further period of public consultation. So, as I say, the key message, I suppose, the draft plan is currently prepared to support variation number 1 and to implement that. This is just the initial overview of what the plan is likely to contain and the key issues that we're looking at. And we'll come back again in a couple of weeks' time with just a detailed presentation when the draft plan has been prepared and prior to going on display. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms Fallon. Councillor Leddy.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, it's great to see this on the agenda. It's very exciting for all of us in Dublin 15 and all of us in Fingal. Really, the Dunsink Land Bank has the potential to make a major impact in our housing shortage. However, my question, and it's a pretty big question, and I think a pretty important question, is why on a site that can deliver potentially 20,000 homes, are we only working on 2,500? Between now and 2019. I thought the whole objective of the variation to redesignate it away from a long-term strategic reserve to an urban area plan, I thought the purpose of that was to bring it all forward. But if we only do 2,000-3,000 units every 5 years or so, well, that sounds like a 20-year project to me, and I think this should be a 5-year project. Look, I don't wish to be negative, but you know, there's another way we could phrase this. You know, we're delivering 2,500 units, but another way of phrasing it is, you know, there's 800 acres there zoned for housing in public ownership that we're not developing. And I think in a housing shortage, that's something that we can't stand by. So I'm worried about the pace of this. Thanks.
Councillor Burchell.
Yeah, great to see this being expedited now. You know, this has the potential to be a game changer for the county and the city. 100 years ago, the fledgling state built public housing Marino, which is still a very attractive place to live. Now, obviously, this will be higher density, but that's the kind of ambition we should be looking at. That state was dealing with tenement housing, you know, chronic overcrowding. We're back to those days, in effect, you know, grossly overcrowded housing, 17,000 homeless people. So we need a radical change in direction. We need a break from the market. 90% of this land is in public hands. 90% of the housing should be public and affordable housing. That's the way to go here. The market, developers have failed society. They're very successful for themselves. They got fat on the misery of the general population, and we need to put an end to it. This is a chance to do that. The last point I'd make is some of the residents on Dunsinnia Lane, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, on the edge of the site have heard through a Chamber of Commerce meeting that their road is going to be, you know, the location for the construction traffic, and they're pretty worried because they're already at capacity. There's some houses up there, there's a nursing home, Chagas is up there as well. So I trust the planners will, you know, provide the necessary access into the site without, you know, flooding that road. Thanks.
Councillor Gearan.
Yeah, I have to say this is very welcome, and it's probably one of the most ambitious plans we've seen come before me in the 12 years that I've served as a councillor, and congratulations to doing it. It's a couple of things I'd say. I know what Councillor Lally said about 2,500 homes, but I think that was taken in the context of the variation and what would be delivered. I'm really impressed because I got to be honest, I didn't think we would get the urban plan in the time frame outline, because a lot of us doubted it, and I think fair play to the planning department for delivering on that, and it gives one great confidence that what we said we'll deliver in the period between now and the end of the time scale, that we will have homes within 2.5 or 3 years, and well done to all involved. Thank you.
Councillor Tormey.
Yeah, thank you, and just wanted to commend the planning department as well, just on such swift delivery on this. My question is in relation to the breakdown of like what types of homes will be in, and I'm just wondering if like much consideration's been given to student housing, housing for older people, because we've that was put into the development plan about the importance of putting that into any new developments. Just to ascertain kind of the wide range, because obviously there is certain pockets of groups, for want of a better word, where the whole city's just completely deficit of like student housing for older people. Then in relation to social housing, what level are we able to deliver within all of those units? Can we pick the number, or is it based on an agreement of delivery? And I just want to figure out in terms of, because obviously the opportunity here is just, it's amazing, but I want to make sure that we're doing it correctly and also seizing the opportunity to address the gaps that are there. And then just in relation to like sporting facilities, is this going to be something where, we can also go above and beyond in terms of, delivery of local community facilities, and also, addressing kind of deficits that are there? Because as I said, I just think, we really need to go above and beyond and push the limits and push what we think is possible here to really deliver. Thank you.
Councillor Donnelly.
Yeah, thanks. I'd like to warmly welcome the work done on the urban area plan for Dunsink. I'd just like to reiterate though the importance of working with DIAS to ensure that Dunsink Observatory gets all of the comfort, I suppose, that they need in terms of the dark skies, in terms of the building around that site. A few of us were up there recently for the launch of their zine, and it really is very, very special, and I would hate to see anything being done to jeopardise their UNESCO World Heritage Site recognition. So, it is. I echo what other councillors are saying about the timing of it. It would be brilliant if we could do it as quickly as possible. And also, I would like to see a lot of social housing, being provided, because our list is still really long, and although we're chipping away, we just don't seem to be getting anywhere fast. Thanks.
Councillor Walsh.
Yeah, I'd very much like to commend the planning department on initiating the process for the urban area plan. I mean, that commitment was given during the variation, and really welcome the fact that we're going ahead with it. I think the urban area plan is really crucial to underpin a balanced, sustainable development in Dunsink, and we need to deliver a large number of homes. Absolutely, we need that in the midst of housing crisis. And we need to do that in the context of a community-led development where there's very strong infrastructure. I'm very pleased to see the reference to active travel. We need to ensure that schools and community facilities are built in from an early stage. I think it's a highly significant development. It's a historic development in many ways, and it's really important to get it right. Just, I suppose, a couple of points that others have touched on. Affordability is obviously crucial in delivering such a significant number of new homes, and I'd also very much like to see a strong commitment in the plan to social and affordable housing. I think it's an unparalleled opportunity, maybe the biggest opportunity Fingal will get to build affordable and social housing at scale in a holistic, balanced way with good infrastructure. And all of that is really important to create a flourishing new urban community. Councillor Donnelly referred to Dunsink Observatory, and I was glad to see the reference to Dunsink in the presentation as well. I think it's just really crucial that there's a collaborative relationship with the Dublin Institute of Advanced Studies and Dunsink Observatory throughout the process. I think that's a concern of the planning department as well. Dunsink has the potential to be a centrepiece of the new development, to be a jewel in the crown of the new development. It could make Dunsink more accessible to the public, but equally we need to protect the Dunsink Observatory. It's very much a jewel in the crown for Fingal, and we need to protect Dunsink's, the possibility that Dunsink has, strong possibility we hope, of securing UNESCO World Heritage status. And I know the Mayor recently, and I was there, and so were other councillors, at the launch of the spacecraft's design, which heavily involved local schools and was a really good example of community outreach by the observatory. So the observatory is very publicly oriented, community oriented, and it needs to be, I suppose, included in the plan as a core element of the plan right from the start. Overall, I think it's really welcome. Just obviously in terms of the plan, it'd be good to see a mix of tenure, mix of housing type, but it's a really, really positive plan.
Thank you, Councillor Walsh. Councillor Shovlin.
Thanks so much for the presentation. I'm going to be really quick. I just have a quick question. When are we expecting that the draft plan will be ready? And then following on from that, a 6-week public consultation. So is our aim sort of to come back maybe in September to approve it? Would that be fair to say? Thanks.
Councillor Troy.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask about the draft plan as well. Is that going to include the whole area? So can we see what's going to happen to Elm Green Golf Course? And there was no mention of that. And the nursing home there as well. Is that being left intact? And as much as I think it's fabulous, all those houses, it's very, very exciting. But for somebody who lives in the area of Castleknock, we've already got Ashtown Road, the River Road, the M3, the M50, absolutely chock-a-block, and Rathbourne is being built, the apartments. Anybody around knows that there's a massive amount of building there. And the roads going in, Ashtown Road and the River Road, are the narrowest little country roads you could imagine. So to be honest, I'm delighted, but I'm kind of very, very concerned about the M50 borders on one side. I would love to see the whole area opened up so that there could be roads into Finglas and, everywhere. So open it up. Otherwise, I don't know how. I mean, and we're talking about the Lewis Green Line, the Dart West, plus the bus connects and the whole lot. We've been talking about them for donkey's years. So, to be honest, I'm very concerned about that side of it, because you can't move around that area in the morning anyway. But I mean, obviously, I'm really excited. It's lovely, and it's a lot of work gone into it. But I'd love to know about the draft plan. Is it going to be just the plan for those 2,500 houses, or are you going to show us the whole lot so that people get the idea? And when we talk about the M50, like, can we get a link onto the M50? And if we can't, why not? I know we spoke about it before, and I think it's much further north. You'd have to travel quite far out. But for the life of me, I can't understand why Finglas can't be upgraded a little bit so that we can open hopefully it shouldn't be all cordoned off, if you understand me. I'd love to see every area connected to one another with free movement, because otherwise you really can't move at the moment in that area. I live there. It's absolutely
Time, please.
awful. Thank you.
Councillor Haley.
And I think Councillor Troy is hitting on one of the key issues here, that if we have 15 to 20,000 people in this location, they're not going to all be getting around by car, because there simply isn't going to be room. So we need to be designing in a filtered permeability to ensure that people can get through by active travel and by walking and cycling. And I'd like to know where we are in terms of our discussions with the NTA and TII, who'd be responsible for a Lewis extension out through this land, which I think is very obviously going to be necessary, and within Road Éireann, who will need to provide an access onto the canal side of the Navan Road train station, Navan Road Parkway train station, and we'll need to provide the access across the canal and across the River Road and the Tolka to get to this land from that station. So I think they're two of the kind of key discussions that we need to have and to be clear on where we are. The other, of course, is Dublin City Council. The neighbours to the southwest and to the west are communities in Fingal. The neighbours to the southeast, the east and the northeast are all within Dublin City Council. And I'm just wondering what discussion has been happening in that regard. And finally, I'd like to make a plea that we considered and decided not to put on display a variation to the piece of land right beside the train station, between the train station and the Travelodge. And it's currently zoned high technology. It hasn't seen any development for the decades that it's had that zoning. It should be zoned with a mixed use zoning so that we can put houses on there as well as employment right beside the station. And we could put that on display, that variation on display at the same time as this local area plan, urban area plan. And I'd like to again urge that we would do that. Cormac.
Councillor Kitt.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor, and thanks to the Planning Department and Roisin. This is to do with housing, and housing, no matter where you go, is the main object. I think we can keep complaining about roads, travel, but everything is covered in this plan, whether it's the biodiversity, whether it's the famous landmarks within the area. And I think that you have to give full credit to the council. I mean, all the organisations within that area, because I've been speaking to some, are involved in this, and that's what it's all about. It's about building houses, and every plan has a future, but every plan might have a holdback in certain areas. But I don't think this plan, the way it was presented here again, and the final draft will be presented again to us, it goes to show the amount of effort and work that's gone into it. And I think everybody across the area in Dunsink will be delighted to see this happening, and I think well done to the council for bringing this forward. Thank you.
Councillor Quinlan.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you very much for the report. Just in the first instance, the residents of Dunsany Lane have been in contact with me with access and egress in and out of the site. What role does the council play in implementing access and egress to the site? I have a motion submitted to a local area committee meeting, and a preliminary report isn't very forthcoming with a positive response, so I'd just like a little bit of clarification on what role the council plays on that end. Heard talk around the chamber about the housing crisis. I understand from the last meeting we had and last presentation we had in relation to Dunsink, the council hasn't done any type of preliminary projections in relation to the demographic makeup of the site. My question is, why is that? Is it that it's just simply not a statutory requirement for the council to participate in such, or is it that the council just has a policy of building and fundamentally just doesn't care where the people actually come from that inhabit these places? Because it's extraordinarily disingenuous to hear about a housing crisis that is being completely and utterly driven by mass immigration in Ireland in 2026. So to hear councillors talking about, oh, this got to help solve the housing crisis, it's absolutely not going to help solve the housing crisis if we don't address the elephant in the room. That's why I'm going to be absolutely insistent that some sort of a report be made forthcoming from Fingal County Council of the potential demographic make this development. Thank you.
Thank you, councillors, and that's all of the questions.
Okay, so just to go through some of the issues raised, I suppose that initial 2,500 units, that's just the allocation given to Dunsink for the remainder of the lifetime of the development plan, so up until 2029. It is the first phase. The development of the area is going to take a run into the long term, but as I say, that initial allocation is 2,500 units, which we'll be looking at for the next 3 years for it to happen. The plan itself, although that is the first element of it, it is going to cover the whole plan lands, so everything within the black line boundary of the diagram there. So the urban area plan will set out the overall framework for the development of the area, so it will give an indication of how that first phase will develop, but also how the full development and build out of the lands will take place. So with that, in terms of the The plan will include things like access and traffic management are being addressed as part of the plan. There will be a transport strategy in it. As mentioned, the key thing in this for the plan is trying to encourage public transport, active transport, and the mix of uses that are proposed are important as well, because if things like employment, education, community facilities are provided within the plan lands, it does reduce the need for people to travel outside the plan lands. So that is a key component of the strategy as well. I should say in terms of Dunsania Lane, the council has submitted an application for funding to the department for the upgrade of Dunsania Lane at Scribbles-Town Lane, so we're waiting a decision on that. But as I said, there will be a strategy in the plan, and things like construction, traffic, management plans would also be generally submitted at application stage, where proposals for that can be kind of considered and evaluated at that stage as well. I would expect that the plan would support a wide range of housing, such as to meet the needs of all of the community and people at different stages of the life cycle, different sectors of the community. Things like the development plan objectives for housing for older persons and for universal access housing, they would still apply to development in this area. As I say, the plan is a land use plan, it's a spatial plan, so it wouldn't really address the breakdown of social affordable housing. That would be more just an operational matter for the council to look at in due course when proposals are being brought forward. And similarly, the demographic issue is not something that's specified in the Act that the urban area plan has to address, and wouldn't be a planning matter that's typically considered in the preparation of these plans. In addition, the sporting facilities will be something to be considered in preparing the plan. As I mentioned, there is a development plan objective for a regional park at Dunsink, and the development of a recreational hub there is going to be part of the strategy, so that would provide kind of active recreational facilities and would be, again, just a really important supporting kind of piece of infrastructure to deliver for the new community in the area. So we will look at how that can be maybe phased in line with the new housing as well, to make sure that those facilities are delivered as early as possible in the build out of the lands. We have been engaging with DIAS to understand the issues that are important to them in terms of the operation of the observatory and its setting, and looking at how the plan can address things such as a lighting strategy to minimise light across the plan area, things like including a landscape setback, kind of key viewpoints which are important to the setting of the observatory. So there is that engagement that is being done, and we're looking to incorporate those measures as best we can into the plan. Just making sure that we can hopefully deliver on the housing element and meet their own requirements to safeguard the future operation of the observatory and recognise its status on the tentative World Heritage Site list as well. The timing of the development plan, say we're working on the draft at the moment, and we had said we'd get it out on display in Q2. We're still working towards that, and if it went out on display kind of within the coming weeks, within the next month, it could be the September meeting that it would come back to the members. But as I say, we'll just finalise that time frame as we get closer to knowing the display date. Green, as I say, it will include proposals for all of the plan lands, including kind of Elm Green and the nursing home. We recognise there are existing premises such as the nursing home in operation at the moment. Similarly, Elm Green Golf Course, the lands are zoned for residential use in the development plan at the moment. However, as I said, it's a long-term plan, so I wouldn't envisage that those lands would be affected in the immediate term. So there is scope for kind of discussion and engagement with the golf club as well as the process evolves. I think similarly we have been engaging with kind of the major transportation providers, and we continue to do that. The Lewis extension is at the moment included as a post-2042 project in the NTA strategy, but we would be hopeful that it could be brought forward, just given the strategic importance of the lands and their recognition at national or regional level in terms of housing delivery. So that process kind of will continue. I think that is most things addressed on this. Roisin, do you want to add anything to that?
Thanks for that, Ms. Fallon, and thanks everyone. It's great to hear the positive comments and the recognition of the work the forward planning team has undertaken since the adoption and just prior to the adoption of the variation.
And just to reiterate, particularly in relation to Councillor Leddy's comment, you know, the 2,500 units is for the delivery of units up to 2029, but that doesn't preclude us from continued consideration and assessment of further units to ensure there's no gap in the delivery, and as the housing comes on stream, we're not pausing while waiting for the new development plan to come on. So just to reiterate that and give you confidence that this will, once the consents and the planning permission start coming in, we'll be continuing to assess them in the context of the new development plan as that moves forward. And as Ms Fallon highlighted, we are continuing to work with DIAS and all the other major stakeholders in the area, and we'll continue that through the draft plan process. And then just lastly, we're looking forward to having further conversation when we come back to you in the next couple of weeks with a more detailed briefing and moving to get the plan published. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms Burke. Councillor Tormey, do you want to come back in?
It was just, I had asked specifically about student accommodation as well, but that wasn't addressed. So I'm just wondering, is that something that, because I think it isn't within our development plan to proactively support student accommodation and working, maybe, is that working with the educational providers, or is that like a few steps later in the process of where we're at? Because I do think at some point within, you know, these thousands of units that I really think we need to be supporting some student accommodation as well. Thanks.
That's noted. We'll take that comment away. Yeah, and have a look at it. Thank you.
Councillor Quinlan.
Thank you very much, sir. Just in relation to the opening up of Dunsany Lane, I did ask what role the council would play. I believe an application for funding was put in. But when it actually comes to open up Dunsany Lane and putting more pressure on the residents of that area and Scribbletown in terms of like traffic congestion and stuff, what role is the council going to play in how the construction traffic and stuff actually gets around? And then as well, in relation to the comment about it's not in the Act, so the demographic makeup of it is very important. This was a brownfield site, and the government issued correspondence telling all councils, all local authorities across the state to look at any brownfield sites ahead. And the reason being was because of the population growth, which is mainly driven by mass immigration into the country. So I think it is extraordinarily important that the council does commit itself to doing a demographic impact assessment on who's actually going to end up living here. Because you go just north of there, you have Charlestown, it's 40% non-national. You head a little bit south to Adamstown, it's about 80% non-national. And then out to the west side, out towards the likes of Ongar, 50%. But then you go into Hansfield, there's like pockets of Hansfield, a very new development where it's like 9% Irish people living in the estate. Like we have
Councillor Quinlan, you've asked her 2 questions. I'm going to ask Ms Fallon to come in.
Thank you. So in terms of the, as I say, there will be a traffic management plan included, or a transport strategy included in the draft urban area plan. So that is looking at how the lands can be accessed, what's the appropriate way to access them, any future applications. That, you know, there will be phasing requirements as well, detailing what roads infrastructure has to be provided in tandem with different thresholds of residential uses. Applications that are made will have to kind of accord with that phasing strategy. In addition, any future applications that are made would include their own transport and traffic assessment. They would include measures for example, mobility management. So those kind of issues are dealt with both at plan stage and at application stage. Things like construction traffic, that is generally dealt with at application stage, where proposals are submitted by a developer and the council can then review them for appropriateness. For example, in terms of perhaps construction working hours, you know, that traffic can be managed outside of peak hours for construction vehicles, having haulage routes and so forth defined. So that would all take place as part of the assessment of a given application. Again, just in terms of the demographics, it is a land use plan, it's a spatial plan, and so it doesn't examine issues such as the demographic makeup or future occupants of housing. It's not a planning matter for the council at this stage.
Okay, thank you, Ms Fallon and Ms Burke. Is that Dunsink Urban Area Plan noted? No. Thank you. We will then move on to item number 26, the progress report on the Climate Action Plan 2024-2029.
Good evening, members. We're bringing you this evening the annual progress report on the Climate Action Plan for 2025. It's the progress that was made throughout the year in 25. It's very, I suppose, advantageous that we're bringing it today, as today's the launch of Climate Action Week. And Climate Action Week was launched today in Dunleary by the Minister. You'll have seen outside also, maybe on your way in if you had time, the Climate Stories, which is an action under community awareness, under awareness in the Climate Action Plan, and the climate animations that were on the screen, highlighting the 6 themes of the plan. Ms Loughlin is going to take us through the progress for 2025 across the 6 thematic areas. The report you have in your pack, if you have a look through the first 20 pages, you will get an overview of all the actions in the plan and the general progress. It's an executive summary. Ms Loughlin will concentrate on a number of the actions, but throughout the report you'll see the full list of actions. So I'll hand over to Ms Loughlin to take us through. Thank you.
Can you hear me? Okay. Just to remind you of why we're doing this, the Fingal Climate Action Plan was adopted in February 2024, and as part of that plan, the baseline emissions inventory that was done in 2018 or 2021 identified the areas for work within the plan. So, as you can see, public lighting and buildings and facilities were the main areas for action, and also the fleet. So just a reminder again then on the key target areas and key action areas. So the main target is a 50% reduction in the improvement in the Council's energy efficiency by 2030. And then the other one is a 51% reduction in the Council's greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. They are the 2 national climate targets that we're working towards. The 2 other targets are to make Dublin a climate resilient region by reducing the impacts of future climate change and related events. And then the 4th target is to actively engage and inform our citizens on climate change. As you're aware, the plan then is broken down into a number of action areas, and they're listed on the right-hand side. And I'm going to give you some examples of some of the projects that have been carried out under these areas. Obviously, I can't go through them all. There's 162 actions in the plan. I urge you to read the plan if you want details on any particular action. So just then, how have we been getting on? So in 2025, we have 162 actions in the plan. 95 actions were completed, and of those 95 actions, were completed last year, 18 are recurring actions. And what that means is there's an annual work programme. So the annual work programme for that year was done last year. 51 are in progress and 16 have not started. Some of those that have not started are not due to start, but we've just got 16 that haven't started. So we're not doing too badly. I'm just going to move now into the different themes and highlight some of the actions. So under the first theme, we have energy and buildings, and the things that we have to consider are the actions that are under that. The sub-themes are energy management, energy efficiency improvement and upgrades, social housing upgrades, accreditation and compliance, energy planning and renewals, and energy awareness. So according to the Fingal's Energy Review for 2024, which we get from the SEAI in October of 2025, we're always a year behind. Fingal County Council report it was given to us in October 25. In Fingal exceeded its 2030 energy efficiency target early by achieving 57.7% improvement in the baseline, with 2.27% improvement in 2024. Our energy-related emissions were reduced by 3.5% in 2024, delivering a total reduction of 48.4% on the 2016-2018 baseline, which is equivalent of 6,319 tonnes of carbon dioxide. Some of the actions then that were carried out, PV panels were installed on the Baldoyle Library, the County Hall and the Hartstown Community Centre, a total of 286 panels in total. Under the Energy Efficiency Retrofit Programme in 2025, we got allocation for funding for 95 units, but we actually completed 119 units in total. In October of this last year, Fingal completed its ISO 5001 recertification, and therefore affirming its commitment to continuous energy management and improvement. Our next theme then is transport. Under the transport theme, we look at things like active travel, providing of active travel cycleways and walkways, active travel connectivity, mobility and modal shift, public transport, shared mobility, EV charging point provision, road maintenance and staff travel. And things that we've achieved in 2025 under that theme. Parking for 92 bike parking spaces were provided, giving 1,976 spaces available across the 7 Fingal electorate areas. 38 schools, clubs and community centres were approved for bike and scooter racks. 14 kilometres of active travel, that be it cycle or walkways, were provided in 2025, and 9 kilometres of reallocation of road space was provided in 2025. EV charging points have been provided at the Baldoyle Racecourse Community Centre 3, Mill Street Car Park, Balbriggan 6 and Kellystown Cemetery 2. Eco-driving courses have been provided for staff and 65 have attended. The Skerries Community Car, which is backed by volunteers, completed 1,500 trips in 2025. And I have one more figure for you. We have 2 dedicated Fingal County Council Go cars, and the cars completed 288 trips over the year, with a total of 10,700 kilometres travelled by 19 unique users. This would be the equivalent of 10.7 tonnes of carbon dioxide savings. Okay. Our next theme then is flood resilience, and under flood resilience we consider flood risk management, flood defence, surface water management, sustainable urban drainage systems, improving the resilience of infrastructure and resilience of archaeology and heritage assets. Okay. Under our flood resilience then, we had the publication of Fingal's Green-Blue Roof Guide. In the County Development Plan, the green roof policy has been introduced into the County Development Plan, and it recognises the potential for roofs as a means of delivering multiple policy objectives such as flood risk, climate change, biodiversity and amenity, especially where space is limited. So this guide seeks to integrate sustainable urban drainage, biodiversity and climate adaptation into development projects. Green roofs were installed on the Baldoyle Community Centre, the Skerries Library and as planned for the Swords Cultural Quarter. Emergency plans including the severe weather plan, the flood plan, the oil spill plan and the air incident plans were updated. The Fingal Coastal Liaison Group meetings took place on the 3rd of September and on the 18th of December in 2025. 70,000 was allocated to support heritage adaptation works on the Abbottstown Church and Howth Castle in 2025. And you might wonder why we're talking about monuments in flood resilience, but this fund is to support the protection of monuments and to build up the resilience to flood measures, or not flood measures, climate measures. Nature-based solutions then. Under nature-based solutions, we look at green infrastructure, the importance of trees, preservation and conservation, and food and agriculture. Under this theme, since 2014, a total of 140 hectares has been included as short and long-term flowering meadow, so maintained for pollinators. Strategic wildflower breaks were created on the Ben of Howth, final wildflower breaks to be created at the Nose of Howth, and all others are in place. The goat grazing project contract remains in place, and there are a number of other wildfire breaks. Woodlands that have been mapped then. The Woodland Management Plan was completed and have been implemented for St Catherine's Park, Newbridge Domain. Management plans are currently being prepared for Ardgillan, Malahide and Santry Domains. Within the Green Ocean Dublin Bay Oyster Project Reintroduction Project, 50 oyster gardens across marinas in Dunleary, Malahide and the River Liffey at Poolbeg were installed by UCD. A MARA application has been submitted for the restoration projects at Malahide Estuary and Ireland's Eye. Under our circular economy then, circular economy, that should be circular economy, we have green procurement, waste reduction and increased recycling in Fingal County Council, promote and facilitate the circular economy, waste reduction, recycling and circular economy, waste prevention and enforcement, land use and acquisition. And the projects, some of the projects that were achieved under that theme look at the circular initiatives, such as the 98 musical instruments were redistributed, were repaired and redistributed. 132 bikes were collected to be repaired and reused. 2,704 litres of paint was upcycled. And then since 2024, 18 public water drinking stations have been installed, and I believe you may have noted that Fingal was the first local authority to achieve 1 million plastic bottles saved with drinking fountains across Fingal. And I think there's 31 drinking fountains across locations across Fingal. The Keen to be Green programme was expanded across all 31 community centres, and the theme for this year and last year is the energy theme, and it has commenced. And water awards, or theme awards under the water theme, were presented to the community centres in 2025. So our community theme are actively working with. I've lost my mouse. Why do I always lose my mouse? Are actively working with the community centres to improve their sustainability. Under the community engagement theme, then, Dublin Climate Action Week 2025 featured over 20 plus events hosted across Fingal. The Community Climate Action Fund, as you're aware, there's 25 projects with a fund of 1.13 million across energy, travel, waste, food and biodiversity themes. 136 schools participate in the Green Schools programme with 19 flags earned. Home energy saving kits were borrowed 1,338 times from libraries across Fingal. We've had 52 staffs complete the mandatory climate training in 2025 and 72 completed specialist courses that relate to climate, and they are the courses that are provided by Caro. And then our last area to talk about would be the Balbriggan decarbonising zone. Just give me a second. I find my notes. Okay. So basically, what you're aware, or you may be aware of the decarbonising zone, we were required to designate an area in from the government's climate action plan of 2019, and Balbriggan was selected for Fingal. The Balbriggan's emissions profile is given there, so you can see a significant amount of emissions come from residential and transport, and they are the areas for activity, with really only 1% coming from Fingal County Council for the municipal emissions. So we have some things to do, but we are there. Our job really is more to lead and to facilitate action. We are required to meet the national target to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 51% by 2030, so there's an average of 7% per annum. Again, it's an area where we can test bed and try things out to see if they work, and hopefully if they work, we can scale up to other areas. In the climate plan, a register of opportunities was produced. So what have we been up to last year as part of the DZ zone? Decarbonising zone. We've started putting together an implementation plan, working on across the themes and working with the various different emissions areas where there are emissions to identify actions that we can put in place and support in the years going forward. We're focusing on high residential energy use, high transport emissions, looking at waste and other land use impacts, and the need to really engage with the DZ citizens. As part of that process, then, we've engaged in E2 Cuties, which is the engaged energy communities in urban areas with technology integrated energy systems. It's an interreg project, and basically what it is we're working with sustainable energy communities to support the actions in the DZ. I don't know if you're familiar with what a sustainable energy community, but basically it's a collective of local people and businesses and organisations who work together to create a sustainable energy system. They focus on energy efficiency, utilising renewable energy and adopting smart technologies to reduce carbon emissions and lower energy costs. And we're working with the SCC in Balbriggan to develop actions that we can then support them in implementing in the coming years. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Loughlin, and you definitely gave us a whistle-stop tour of a huge amount of work that you are doing. You know, it's only when you see it down on paper that you realise all of the actions that you're actually taking on. We have a number of speakers. Councillor Humphreys.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the presentation, and thank you for condensing it down and getting through it so quickly as well. It's a lot of information, and so I'm sorry for going into minutiae on some of it. I just have two questions, actually. One on N15. This is mapping of the grass in our open space in the county. I've been tracking this particularly as it was kind of one of the motions I had about 2 years ago now. It was my understanding that it was effectively finished, so I was a bit concerned when I'd seen ongoing in the progress update. Is there any update on when that will be finished and be able to be presented? And then just a broader one, N17 and N18, just considering what's going on in the world at the moment, oil prices, disruption to supply chains, in the context I'm discussing would be fertiliser, N17 and N18. How come there be kind of no progress made on it? Is this, are we waiting for something from a national or European level, or is it just that the workload is so big that despite it being kind of such an urgent and topical issue that it's still no progress? And again, sorry for detailed questions on a report that was very compelling and very kind of whistle stop tour.
Councillor Murphy.
Again, thanks very much for all the work you're doing. I just have a question on the Balbriggan area, and just wondering, can you give me a little bit more detail on what you're doing to support the reduction of emissions in the residential area, given that it's presenting with 50-odd% of the total emissions? Thank you.
Councillor Burchell.
Yeah, just thanks to the team for the work they're doing, a huge breadth of projects and actions there. I'd have to say, though, that you know, our efforts are negated and dwarfed really by bigger factors in the economy. The data centres now consume 22% of the total energy output. If the population of the country is just over 5 million, that's equivalent to, you know, the power needs of a million plus people. There's 600,000 people in Fingal, so, you know, maybe double that. And Fingal is a hotspot for data centres, as we know. So, you know, this is the problem. The bigger entities in the economy are undermining the good work being done. The lifting of the passenger cap in the airport is another, you know, retrograde step, bulldozed through there over the last number of months. Dublin Airport should be reducing passengers along with every other airport as a necessary measure to combat climate breakdown. But again, you know, when the needs of corporations come in conflict with the needs of the environment invariably loses out, you know, notwithstanding the good work of state agencies. The last point I make is around this private wires bill that's mentioned in the report. That's another negative step, privatising the energy network. The ESB is one of the success stories of the state, established 100 years ago in rural electrification. Private sector doesn't really invest. Ultimately, the private sector exists to extract. That's how profit is made. So investment is a misnomer, really, and our network should not be left in private hands in any way, shape or form. Thanks.
Councillor Healy.
Gormagat Vera, and thanks very much for the detailed report. And there are quite a few questions that could come up, so maybe some of them might be better suited to the SPC. But I am struck that there are a few, for example, E19, it was the pilot rollout build on the pilot rollout of the energy cloud to about 60 social homes in Swords. And it would be really important to know what happened subsequent to that, because it's been marked as completed, but it hasn't been built on, and the indication here is that it's not going to be built on. Just for people to know, Energy Cloud is a scheme whereby people on low incomes are given free electricity at times when the electricity is surplus within the system. And this is an inherent characteristic of the wind turbines, that if it's really windy in the middle of the night, we end up with extra electricity and no real demand for it. And the Energy Cloud puts that electricity into hot water in people's houses, into their hot water systems and their heating systems. So it's a brilliant idea, and I'm not clear on why it's kind of hasn't been built on and continued on, having done a pilot on it. There are a few others. The Strand Mill retrofit. We were taken there in 2024 together with Minister O'Brien, and in fact we were shortlisted for an award for it. So to get a bit more detail, again, maybe not today, as to why exactly that happened. I think we have a lot of potential for district heating, and we've put a lot of effort in. As I see Mr. Story looking at me, I know he's put a lot of effort in personally. I know it's not just him as well. So to understand the progress that's being made on that side. because we have one project, but we have a lot of potential in a lot of other parts of Fingal where there's heat and matching demand. And finally, the reports have focused very well on the outputs, and I'm just wondering to what degree can we start measuring the impacts in terms of tons. Like I saw it up there with some of them, but the more that we can get back to the matching up our baseline, and then this is what we've got to this year, this is what we've got to the next year, I think that would be very positive. But again, the main reaction, Mayor, is that this report is a testament to the amount of work that's being done across the council, and I'm looking forward to seeing even more being done, especially, and I can't let it go, the solar panels over our car parks. Hopefully we'll be getting there soon. Thanks very much.
Councillor Smith.
Thank you, and yeah, I just want to compliment again, like the others, that the incredible amount of work that is happening and going into this. I feel like Councillor Birchall and me are either sharing notes or he's reading my computer, because I'm looking at the work that's being done, and I might come at this from a slightly different angle. I suppose I'm asking around the plan in some ways. In terms of the heating schemes that we have done out in the west of the county, and with the proliferation of data centres that are expanding there, what are our plans to rather than, it feels like we are going to be railroaded in this chamber no matter what we do, from either in relation to the admissions connected to the airport or data centres. So with that being almost a fact, overruled with us by central government, are we planning on expanding the heating schemes and working, trying to get some positive generation around the use of the data centres? And as well with that, it does look like that there is going to be a serious expansion of the passenger cap. Are we already looking at what we are going to do to offset that? Is it going to be left to Fingal to handle the admissions offsets, and how are we going to do that going beyond 2029? Thank you.
Councillor Quinlan.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thanks very much for the presentation. My question is in relation to the Blanchetown District Heating Scheme. Who is actually going to own and operate that network? Is it going to be just one company? Because having dealt with these types of companies in the past and having liaised with many people who have district heating schemes, I know it says it's one of the second of its kind, and there is other ones around the place, and the council should look to Charlestown. I believe that's a district heating scheme, and we can link in and give you details on the company that's running that and stuff. But the reason I ask is that if it is going to be solely operated by one operator, it does say it's going to be low cost heat, and it does have the potential to be low cost heat, but with that it can be absolutely be abused by a company who just wants to make profit, because you're essentially locked to the one network, can't really switch provider, and you're just stuck with the unit rate that you're paying.
Councillor Navarro.
Yeah, thanks to the team. Yeah, it's a very comprehensive report, and I think it's quite commendable, especially from the active travel and climate action team. We get regular reports and information. Just two items here I just wanted to query a little bit and maybe get further insights. PV panels were installed on Baldoyle Library, County Hall offices, Hartstown Community Centre. And I see a figure here, 286 panels. I think this is an ingenious initiative, and I'm just wondering if the council is thinking about rolling out this initiative to other Fingal County Council owned community centers and the rest, because to a large extent I believe this would help reduce the energy consumption on county owned properties. That's the first. Again, 190 homes were retrofitted in 2015. Question here is, which homes are these? And again, are we looking at extending this retrofitting exercise? It's really coming on stream very strongly, and to a large extent, it's also helping homes to consume less energy from electricity sources, as the retrofitting helps to cushion that effect. Probably a little bit unrelated, but I think it's important for us to mention this. We've raised a number of motions here in relation to public transport system to the Dublin airport. The airport is in Fingal County Council, and this to a large extent would help the number of cars that have to drive, on a regular basis to the airport. If we're talking about, public transportation and the reduction of climate, I beg your pardon, emissions. If we're talking about reduction of emissions, we need to be thinking along that axis as well. So, do we have any solutions in respect of maybe working with the NTA to ensure that we have public transport systems that go to the airport to reduce the number of cars that go to the airport on a regular basis? Thank you.
And finally, Councillor Newman.
Yeah, thanks very much, Mayor. I wasn't too sure if my question here would be relevant to what this climate action plan is about, and while I welcome all the work that's going on and really appreciate it, a couple of questions have been raised there which is not relevant, so I just feel maybe I can bring this one in here. Just regards to the housing stock that we have, social housing stock, has all the housing stock been future-proofed? And have we still got stock there with gas boilers in them? Is the council still actively engaged in replacing gas boilers in their social housing stock? And, I ask this question because I've just been informed recently, there's a delegation from the government that we can't grant aid gas boilers for the older persons grant, which is a bit of a serious issue to me, because there's lots of vulnerable people out there, people that have medical conditions that will need to have a boiler replaced, and the delegation says they can't have that. So, it's discrimination, I feel, the essence of that, by discriminating against people that are vulnerable and older. And the SEI cannot carry out external installation and bring people up to heat pump standard in private dwellings for at least 2 years. So I think it's really important that we have some consideration there, and I will be calling for the council later a motion to ask for a derogation on that directive. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll just bring in Mr. Story.
Thanks. I might try and do most of the queries and then maybe pass one or two to the directors. From the public transport system with from the airport to Swords, we're aware that obviously, and that's been raised with the NTA on numerous occasions, so that's within their function. We can make those representations, but ultimately they're the ones that make provision for that service, not ourselves. In relation to solar panels for community centres, as part of the Pathfinder project, all the community centres will be identified at different stages and will be upgrades of the community centres, and solar panels will be included in that. There is a programme within the community department for that. In relation to the emissions of the cap at the airport, that's a function of the Department of Transport. It's not something that we get involved in, and obviously our emissions are based on our own actions for our own climate action plan. Solar and car parks, you'd be glad to hear, Councillor Healy, we're looking into that at the moment to see is there an opportunity to do something there at the moment, but we'll come back when we have a report ready. In view of the baseline, there is a review of the plan nationally, how climate action plans are put together for the next stage of the climate action plan, so that's something that will be brought part of that review. We bring that back, and how that's reported on year, so we'll bring that back. The district heating, so the district heating in Blanchardstown is a scheme that we're hopefully going to use the waste heat from a data centre, and will provide heat to the sports campus, the hospital and the college. We're in the process at the moment where we've applied for provisional funding for preliminary costs, and it looks as though we're going to be successful on that. And then we have to go to look at the model that we're going to use if that scheme is going to be delivered. There is 50% funding available nationally for those schemes, so that's something that we'll be applying for. Once we have more information on that over the next couple of months, we'll bring that back to the members for discussion. In relation to the housing, I'll hand that over to Paul in a minute. In relation to Balbriggan, obviously the decarbonisation zone, we've identified a small number of houses within the decarbonisation zone. And obviously we'll have to engage with the housing department and other voluntary housing bodies and SEAI for the private houses to see is there a scheme that could be used there. But that's a challenge for every local authority. It's not just in Fingal because there's a mixture of tenure within those areas. Just in relation to the individual actions, Councillor Humphreys and Councillor Healy, I think we might just come back to them separately and we'll get you a report on those, a note on those, because it's a bit of detail for this meeting, so we'll come back to you separately on those. We might just hand over to Paul for the housing queries. Thanks.
In relation to the two schemes that you mentioned, the Energy Cloud scheme and the energy retrofit scheme that was undertaken in Strandmill and Portmarnock in conjunction with the SEI. Both of those schemes were pilot schemes, and they didn't proceed further, I suppose, because there was a low uptake from the homeowners and who had to make a contribution towards them as well. So I suppose that was the function of the pilots to roll out and see what the issues are. I believe the Energy Cloud is been undertaken by one of the AHBs in Fingal as well. So there may be a way forward for that in future for us. In relation to the energy retrofit, we'll be doing 120 this year. 120 additional ones in a number of locations around the county. The 190 that have been done would be in a number of different council estates, generally the older type estates, where we try to undertake the works in the most efficient manner by targeting on a particular kind of small area where there's a large number of concentrated houses that would be suitable to be retrofitted. In relation to gas boilers, there's a number of different criteria that applies in terms of what we can and can't do, and that's gone into in some detail in the response to item 40 in tonight's agenda. But essentially, we don't install new boilers anymore, but we can do replacement ones with second-hand boilers.
Yeah, Councillor Newman.
Just with regards to second-hand boilers, where are we getting them?
I don't have that detail at the moment in front of me, but I can look into it.
Okay, thank you, and that report is noted. We will move on. I'm conscious of time. Move on to item number 27, Summer Projects Funding 2026.
Deputy Mayor, so this is a schedule of the summer projects funding that we give out every year. It's just about 72,000 and it's going to 38 groups, so it's for approval by the members.
We proposer and a seconder. Thank you. Agreed. Move on then to item number 28, Arts Act Grant Scheme Revenue Strand 2026.
So members, this is the second instalment of this grant. We were with you in February for the main body of these grants, but this is a grant of 150,000 to the Institute of Music and Song in Balbriggan. Members will remember a few years ago we entered into a memorandum of understanding with them for a 3-year funding period as they got up and running, and we're now moving them into the more mainstream funding mechanisms where they will apply every year and work with the Arts Office to ensure that they're delivering what the programme envisages and that it's in line with the Arts Plan. So it's moving them from a subvention arrangement to an annual grant application process.
I'll second it. Agreed? Thank you. We will move then on to item number 29, the Chief Executive's report.
Members, in the interest of time, I'll just ask you to note the report and we're happy to answer any questions.
Councillor Humphreys.
Quite embarrassing, I didn't notice this until now, but in the dog shelter, does PTS in the graph where we're cataloguing of rehomed, rehoused, is that an acronym for put to sleep? Because it was my understanding when we set up the shelter about 4 or 5 years ago, Councillor Tanya did an awful lot of work on that, that it was on the basis of a no-kill shelter.
Councillor Walsh.
Thanks, thanks to the Chief Executive for the report. A couple of things. Just firstly to say, I was at the very successful event for Bike Week, which was hosted, I think, by Active Travel and Climate Action sections over the weekend in Millennium Park, and just attracted a huge footfall throughout the day. Was very popular. There was a big queue for the bike repair. The bike repair stand throughout, so just to say thank you and congratulations to all the Fingal staff involved. I think a couple of them were here, so it was really successful, so well done on that. Slightly less positive note, the Auburn Avenue walking and cycling route is very widely supported and very, very positive initiative, but just have to point out that there's very serious concern among residents over the arrangements for implementation of the route, in particular that the green space in Auburn Green is due to be fully taken over by the contractor. Residents got notice of this there was no meeting, but they got notice in writing through their doors last Thursday and Friday. There's a lot of shock and unhappiness about it. Partly the size of the compound, it takes over the entire green space. Also the fact that it's going to be for the entire year, for 12 months. And I suppose I want to ask, were any alternative locations considered? And can Fingal Active Travel look at this again and particularly engage directly with the residents on it? Because it's something that has potential not only to severely impact the amenity of the area for residents, but also to impact on support for active travel in the area. It's also worth noting, just in terms of safety, that there's a Montessori school with a lot of young children just beside the proposed compound, and those children play in that green. So I just welcome a response on that. Thanks.
Councillor Donnelly.
Thank you. I note that the Quiet Streets applications closed on the 27th of April. I was just wondering how many applicants we had. And just to note, I still can't get my head around how we are seeking Quiet Street applications to close off streets to vehicular traffic when we are proposing to open 6 cul-de-sacs in Fort Lawn. The other thing I'd just like to note, the new rents were implemented this last month, and just to say I'm very, very disappointed that there was absolutely no cognizance taken of the vote in this chamber, even though it was an executive function. And Councillor Quinn had to send in 2 emails. The first one was ignored to ask if there was going to be any consideration given. And I have to say, it felt to me like the councillors were being given the 2 fingers. Thank you.
Councillor Shovlin.
Yeah, thanks for the report. Lots of very positive things happening across Dublin 15, so thanks for everyone on their work with all those various events and programme works and so on. Just similar to Councillor Walsh, I've received quite a few emails about the Auburn Avenue walking and cycling route and the fact that the green area in Auburn is going to be taken over for the building compound. Again, similar to what Councillor Walsh said, the residents have been asking, you know, could some alternative sites be looked at, maybe close to the 12th Lock, the Travel Lodge or the HSE building in Castleknock Village. And also there is, as Councillor Walsh pointed out, there's a creche Montessori physio service. It's kind of on the way to the GAA club. It's a very busy route for all sorts of road users, to be honest. And 12 months, I think they were a bit taken aback that this work would take that long. kind of thinking that maybe we'll be able to complete it in a much shorter time period. Is that being a little bit pessimistic? My second question is, well done on the water filters, which was really positive, and I posted it up myself, and a lot of people were suggesting other locations. Just how do maybe groups or football clubs and that go about getting the water filters, or would there be someone in Climate Action that could advise on that? Thanks.
Can we agree to extend the meeting till 8:10 just to finish this item? Agreed. Thank you. And Councillor Corkery.
Thanks, Laska Hurlock. Just to welcome the speed of the delivery of the 274 social and affordable homes at Ballia and Mona in Swords as part of phase 1 of that scheme, and the sale of 114 of the 151 purchase homes there to some very excited families. Just wondering if it's possible at this time to shed some light on when we might be able to expect a planning application to go in on phase 2 of that scheme. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Onawara.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Would like to thank the Chief Executive for the report. Looking through the report, there are some amazing and superlative initiatives and accomplishments there, and I think it's quite commendable that we have this. I would like to thank especially the Chief Executive for the Connect Festival that happened just over the last weekend there. Seeing the number of communities, you know, in Dublin 15 and even outside of the area that came together to celebrate the uniqueness of what makes us Fingal County Council, I think it's quite commendable. And long may we continue to celebrate all of this, you know, which shows how cohesive the Fingal community really is. I would also like to thank the Chief Executive for the information here from the Community Department in relation to plans to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Cutoff FC. I think that is a real big milestone that I believe all councillors would like to be part of. Cutoff FC have been an invaluable, play invaluable role in our community in terms of the contribution towards supporting the development of young people in sports. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Carboni-Mangan.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the report. Thanks to the Chief Executive. Like my colleagues, Councillor Walsh and Councillor Shovlin, I just want to raise the issue of the compound at Auburn Green. It was quite disappointing to get a flurry of emails from residents whose first inkling about this was that they got flyers through their door telling them that the green would be commanded for 12 months. You know, really, coming into the summer as well, it's most unfair. It is an extremely busy area with footfall, with children up and down to Bridget's, and there are private businesses also there in operation. So I would just appeal to the team if there's any solution to this to reduce the size of the compound and perhaps move it to a more suitable location, as you know, it is quite unfair on the residents. However, the project is most welcome, and I was in favour of the project myself, but I have to say this is quite disappointing. Thank you.
Councillor Troy.
Thank you. I agree as well with my colleagues about the foot of Auburn Avenue. We all got, I'm sure, the same kind of emails complaining. There's a lot of children play on that green. There's people have already put football, posts there, and they seem to really enjoy it. So it's a real pity the fact 12 months that people are really shocked at that. I just wanted to mention as well the pedestrian cycle scheme for the Granard Bridge. There's really lovely trees there. I think they're Monterey cypress, or they're huge trees. They haven't been terribly well looked after, so they do need to be pruned and dead parts removed. But they are really a landmark. They're stunning. They're really beautiful. So a few people have been asking me, are those going to be removed? So when the walkway goes in, I hope not. And just as well, the footpath, the way it is on the road, going over the canal and the railway. The west side, is that going to be removed? It doesn't look like it is in the plan, but it makes sense to make the other side really wide if the west side has the new walkway. Just a thought I had, and as well, there's a footbridge over the railway, and it's ugly looking, and you can see people carrying bikes up it sometimes and going over. It would just be really nice if that was taken away, because we'll already have the other walkway. So just a thought. Thank you.
Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Under Appendix 3, Housing Delivery Construction Programme Schemes on Site, there's reference to O'Dwyer site, Balbriggan, with 80 mixed tenure homes. So is there any indication yet what that mix will be, and when will we, or outline any current thinking on it, and when will we have some certainty around that mix? Thank you.
Councillor Smith.
Thank you. Just 3 quick questions and comments. Firstly, blown away by the popularity of the refill stations. I know it's been mentioned a few times tonight, but to see it nearly used 2,000 times at Ward River Valley Park there on the Swords Manor side within a week it's mind-boggling, to be honest, and I think it just shows how effective it is. If even just a fraction of them is bottles taken out of circulation, we're doing really well. Received a good few complaints already, and I'm disappointed again this year to see that Malahide Castles and Gardens are persistent with the Hunt Ball event. We had very detailed discussions in this chamber only last year and we have a policy in the council that no lands or roads could be used for hunting, and yet one of our derivatives are persistent with this. So I know it's not a decision of the executive, but I'm really disappointed that it's being persisted, and I do believe that there's a number of protest plans that could be avoided. Like it is an unnecessary thing, and it's a contradiction in our policies versus what we're putting out there. And finally, just want to say huge congratulations to the Community Department and Tribe Swords. They did a brilliant event last week, or a few weeks ago, sorry, in the Carnegie. It was really well attended, and it was a whole spectrum of different organisations and groups came together, and they have an event coming up in the pavilions this weekend or this Thursday. And it's great to see the Carnegie being used and being broadened beyond the arts. I know there's a definite need for that, but it's fantastic that that facility isn't lying idle, and congratulations on that. Thank you.
Councillor Healy.
Gormagat Vera. Just in relation to the Kilbarrack Industrial Estate Master Plan, I asked in September what for a timescale for it, and at that stage it hadn't commenced. I asked at the area committee last week, and I was told that it did commence in work started on it in 2025, but then stopped again in order to progress the variation, and it remains paused in order to progress the Dunsink urban area plan. When we started the development plan, when we've completed the development plan process, we set out a list of urban area plans which were going to be prioritised, and it was on that list, and all of the other plans on that list have been done, to the best of my knowledge, and the Kilbarrack Industrial Estate Master Plan remains undone. And this is a master plan to implement a rezoning to high-density mixed-use development right beside a train station. So I'd be grateful to understand, A, why it is being deprioritised when there's a lot of other work which is being prioritised ahead of it, and secondly, what is the current expected timescale for bringing forward and drafting the master plan? Thanks very much.
And finally, Councillor Johnson.
Thank you. Firstly, I just want to thank the Chief Executive and her staff. The Portrane coastal erosion is a massive issue that many people have been raising in this chamber over many years. The situation became critical there before Christmas. There was a very strong campaign by local residents there. Last week we saw the delivery of the rock armour to the beach, and I have to say the messages I received, from the residents there, the relief that those families felt last week, and the joy that the Rock Armour finally was being delivered and they could see a way forward. They're very grateful to the Chief Executive and her team, Colin Gallagher, Kevin Halpney in particular. I want to thank you most sincerely for the quick turnaround in the delivery and the action on this particular issue. And I hope to see the CBs then relocated to other vulnerable areas along the coastline. There are another couple of homes that are quite vulnerable on the coast there, as many people are aware. I have another question just really about the Portran Road Enhancement Scheme. Just, I suppose, querying, has the contract been awarded and will we see the work commence towards the end of this month? Thank you.
Thanks, members and Deputy Mayor. Appreciate your comments on the events throughout the county. There'll be many more over the coming weeks and months, so I look forward to seeing you at as many of them as possible. It's always a great time in the summer. Thanks to John and the events team for the work they do in relation to it. There's a few queries there for Mr. Story, and I'll hand over to him in due course. But maybe on Urban Avenue and Green, obviously it's a huge issue locally and for local councillors. I'm not sure we'll resolve it tonight, but Mr. Story, you might meet councillors or talk to you outside of this meeting in relation to potential for other solutions. And I don't know if that there is other solutions, but it just strikes me that we better have a look at that again. Councillor Donnion, your comment on the new rents, we totally appreciate the councillor's concern in relation to adding costs to tenants. We do have very economic rents. I appreciate the timing coincided with other issues. However, we will continue to work with our tenants to make sure that we support them as best we can, but ultimately it's just not sustainable to keep the rents as low as they were. We certainly did consider the motion carefully. This scheme had already been implemented, and as you know, our budget this year depends on it. But ultimately, it is about sustainable rents as we move to deliver considerable social housing. And in 2026, I'm pleased to report that we will meet our target and go above it by about 50% or so. So lots of new housing will be delivered in the county, and we do need to understand that the model we're delivering it under is sustainable. Again, on the water fillers, Mr. Story and Ms. Murphy might come in on those. Ballyonamona, that's a great scheme. Delighted that it's been completed so quickly, and hopefully phase 1 will be more or less complete in the next 6 to 9 months or so. Phase 2 will be lodged in the coming months, probably towards the end of the year. So proceeding at pace again with that housing delivery in Swords. I think that covers everything. Just on the coastal erosion piece in Portran, can I just say, Mr. McAleese and the team just took that responsibility and moved with it and brought through that scheme to lodgement with a planning application with the Commission. And then again, as we had to adapt and improvise in terms of our response to it, albeit that it's an Office of Public Works responsibility, we did take the decision that the rock armour needed to be installed. I am pleased that that has government support, but a lot of work by the team there, and it hasn't been easy for any of them. And I want to acknowledge the support of the community in that area and the work of particularly a couple of individuals who have supported us and helped us deal with communications. So I'm hopeful that the rock armour will make a big difference in the area, but I'm also hopeful that we'll move to the permanent solution. But that assessment is with the Commission, so we'll wait and see what their reaction is to the application. I know it's a top-class application, but it's a complicated issue, so we await to see the outcome of that. Just to say on the Hunt Ball, Councillor Smith, the title is the Hunt Ball, but it has very little to do with hunting. It's to do with introducing the life of the castle to those who want to attend a dinner in the castle. So I'm not sure how aligned we are with the name, but it won't resolve hunting if it's cancelled. Hopefully there may be something we can do on the name itself. Perhaps too late for this year to rebrand it, but we're open to consider that for next year. Might start with Mr. Story, and if the other directors can come in on their own issues.
Thanks, Chief Exec. Just on the dog shelter, I note to put to sleep there's one dog, but in fairness, from where we've come over the last couple of years, we made great improvements in the shelter. Generally, where dogs are put to sleep, it's usually because of aggressive behaviour or where there's a court order. I'll check into that particular case, but nearly all dogs are rehomed unless we've no alternative. Auburn Avenue, as the Chief Executive said, and I've already spoken to members, happy to meet the councillors to try and resolve that issue. Applications for quiet streets, there's been 8 as I think of the closing date. And then the water filters, there is an opportunity for, well, there was an opportunity for clubs to make applications under the Climate Action Fund, but I know Miss Murphy and her staff have a programme, so she might come in there as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Story. Thank you, Councillor Healy. Just in relation to your query around the Kilbarrack Master Plan, it work did begin on the brief last year, and as outlined in the ACM response, that was paused owing to the work required for the variation and in reprioritising Dunsink to be published on a much shorter time frame than originally planned. When we publish that in the next month and that starts to progress through that particular process, we'll be revisiting the Kilbarrack Master Plan work.
Just 2 queries. Councillor Troy, the trees at Granard Bridge at stage 2, the scheme's at a very early stage. At the next stage, the preliminary design, we'll get into more of the survey work. That will ultimately determine the route that we will be taking, and we'll be able to give more of an input on the trees and whether they can be protected or not. Councillor Johnson, just in relation to the Port Rann Road, I understand the team are looking at a leaflet drop for Donabate. Just to make sure everybody is aware of those works. But look, we'll have a briefing with councillors in advance of that, just to set out the commencement dates and any implications. Thanks.
In relation to boiling pneumonia, actually just to clarify, the planning application is going to be submitted sooner. It's going to be in the next few weeks, and we will expect to actually have the planning application, planning decision by the end of the year. In relation to O'Dwyer's and the tenure mix, that scheme is still in the early stages and there's surveys ongoing on that at the moment, so we wouldn't be in a position to confirm the exact tenure mix until we get the design much more developed than it currently is.
Members, with regard to the water filters, and thanks everybody for the kind words on that, it's been a great success. If you have any locations where you feel there would be a great demand, send them in to us and I will look at them with the parks team in terms of the feasibility of getting them up and running, but send them in and we'll review. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll note the CE's report. And finally, can we note the conference report 31A to D? Is that noted? And also we will note correspondence number 32A to C. Is that noted? Noted at Gran. Again, thank you so much for your cooperation today. Sorry, Councillor Newman. Number 40. A report. Yeah, that's fine, Councillor Newman. So again, thank you so much, and that concludes the business of the meeting. Thank you.